This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Hey everybody. A morning for me, so good morning for anyone this morning. Good evening for people like Jane.
Hello, good morning.
Good evening. Are you, Jane, are you in Malaysia? Are you okay with the earthquake?
Yeah, I'm in Malaysia and thankfully there's no impact here. Yeah.
Oh, I heard it was worse in it's Myanmar. It's worse in Myanmar than Thailand, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
Myanmar and Bangkok. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm getting mixed up. Well, it's good then. Good you're okay.
Yeah, thank you. But it's pretty much close to us, and the expert they say that perhaps Malaysia, KL, we should be alert. Yeah,
Oh, like
because
for
things change.
aftershocks or
Mm.
follow on. Yeah.
That's right. Because basically we are like surrounded by the countries that are having the earthquake now,
Mm.
because the Indonesia is pretty much close to us, and Indonesia does have earthquake every now and then. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I know there's tsunamis in the area, but I didn't know the actual landmass got earthquakes.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think recently because all the nature and all those is like kind of changing.
Hmm.
So we do expect that perhaps Malaysia will no longer be like free from the earthquake. We should be alert. Yeah.
Hmm. Just getting Patriotsounds up here. You up there, Patriot?
Guys,
Morning.
morning for me. How you guys doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
I'm doing very good. Very good. Thank you.
Right on. Well, should we jump right into it? We're going to chat about price today, room price, but I thought first we'll just go over the whole raise the bond campaign and how it's going. And I think it ties well into the price. So, does that sound good to you guys?
Let's go for it, man.
Okay. So we're at 103 nodes now, and if you look at the nodes waiting to churn in, we should get to 110. A few of those nodes they're on a lower version of THORChain, like they haven't updated yet. So I don't know. They must be purposely be on standby. They don't want to churn in just yet. So I'm hoping the fact that they're there, their rune is sitting there, that at some point they're going to update and churn in. So I'm including those. But if we get to 110 nodes, we'll have just over 100 million rune bonded, which is like basically back to our previous highs. Like we're pretty close. So I think this is awesome. This is working. And then I don't know if you guys have seen Runetard's post about all the new potential, like brand new actual node operators and operators with a lot of rune who want to run their own node, like their own bond, their own node. Like this is huge. This is working. Like we could definitely, if we keep this up, we're going to get to 120 nodes. And then it's just a matter of time to getting those nodes up to 1 million rune each. So I think it's going great. What do you guys think?
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jane.
absolutely. Yeah. I think Kenton and Denise, both of you exceptionally doing really great, because you have been really so consistently pushing this as raise the bond your rune, right? So yeah, I think this is really great that we should really continue to push this. And compared to, like, in my memories, I think back in the 5 years in 2020, 21, when it first started, this is really a great time to enter it, and everybody should really consider to really check on who are those nodes that actually available and that really, meet the requirement that you are comfortable to bond your rune. Definitely should really bond your rune. Yeah. This is the best time.
Absolutely. It's been absolutely phenomenal job, guys. Good job, everybody. I mean, looks like we're gonna get to 110. 120 is so doable. And I want to hit that metric. And I want to go beyond it at some point, but that'll have to put pressure on the devs. And I have a magic number in my mind. Once we hit the 120 threshold, what I like to see after that. But good job, everyone. Keep bonding your rune. Raise the bond. This just helps makes THORChain more decentralized. And speaking of Runetard, I mean, I want to give this man a shout out. What an absolute legend, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with, remember when Bybit funds were going through THORChain, he was, Runetard was worried, right? I don't know who he is. I don't know where he lives. Doesn't matter where he lives. I don't care. But he had to make a decision, to try to protect himself. This is his words. And he was, trying to get a point where he didn't observe these ETH, transactions, because he didn't want to put risk to himself. Okay. And then after that happened, he realized, hey, I'm kind of the attack vector here. And Runetard has always been the person to help THORChain when it comes to doing the monthly drills of teaching node operators, to use Mimir commands. And, he's an absolute legend. And he's always been helpful to the community, helping other node operators get bond. Okay. But now he's going all in. This man is so amazing. He's going all in, and he's teaching his own competition how to become a node operator. And he's teaching, he's giving bond providers to other node operators. I mean, you cannot ask for a better community member. And speaking of which, Slambammer, I don't know if you've mentioned this already, guys. Sorry, I came a little late. He is the new prospective node operator, and he needs bond providers. Okay, so if you are a whale, or if you're someone with a significant amount of bond, please reach out to him. He's taking anybody. I think it's 1,000 rune up, but he's going to need some people with substantial holds of rune. So, hey, Slambammer's right there. Excellent. He's in the thing. Guys, this is excellent. We've made the appeal to you guys. We need people to step up and become node operators, and people have been taking up that call seriously. And now we have Slambammer who's stepping up and doing something very difficult, become a node operator, and he needs bond providers. So let's get him some bond providers, guys. Very, very important. And again, just thank you, everyone. And if I can make a small request, I'm going to give it back to Kenton here, but I would let's do something fun here. Could everyone, if you're listening to this recording and listen to it live, I want you to please go on a comment and just say, thank you, Runetard. Thank you at the Runetard. Okay. This guy has done so many wonderful. I've sent so many people to Runetard, and he's taken it all, baby. It's wonderful, and I cannot thank this man enough. What he's doing, absolute legend.
I'm doing it right now. I keep spelling thank. I keep spelling thank wrong. Thank you, Runetard.
Yeah.
You guys don't even have to add any context. Just put a bunch of just bomb him with thank you, Runetard. Make him confused. That'd be great. I love it. Right?
Make him listen. Get him to listen to it. He'll listen to the recording, maybe.
Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Thank you, Runetard.
It is great. And I thought maybe we should just recap why this Raise the Bond campaign, how it started. The network was underbonded, meaning we couldn't deposit any new crypto into it. And then with the launch of App Layer of Ruggira coming, that means there wouldn't be any, you couldn't use it basically. And so, we're trying to get the bond up so that people can deposit crypto and then use the app layer. But in general, we should be doing this all the time. I've actually kind of thought about this for a while. Like, we should always be trying to encourage people to bond their rune, because it just always keeps that extra room, that extra security. Like, there's really no point having your rune sit there. Like, if you're holding on to your rune, you're like, I'm waiting for it to go to $5, then I'm going to sell. Just put it in a node. Like, it's really not doing you any good just sitting there in your wallet. You may as well have it sit in a node and earn some yield. And even if it's only like 1%, it is higher, but even if it's some minuscule amount, it is worth it. And you help get the rune price up to go to $5 sooner. Because if we're over bonded, like let's say we're over bonded and you add to your bond and you make it even more over bonded. Well, that creates more room for crypto to come in and pushes yield towards the pools to where we want crypto to go. When the pools go up in size, that drives up the rune price. So by bonding your rune, you're helping get to your price target faster. I hope that makes sense. Does it make sense to you, Jane and Patriot?
Absolutely. Oh, hey, Slambammer. Go ahead, Slambammer. I don't want you're the new node operator, prospective node operator here. I'll go ahead and give you the floor. Go ahead.
Cheers, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add to that in terms of for a long time, when I first got started with THORChain, bond or node operating and bond providing was kind of out of reach for most people. I think there was a lot of development that was still going on, and also there was no pooled nodes. So if you wanted to be a node operator or a bond provider, you had to put up, somewhere in the region of $1 million yourself. Now with pooled nodes, there's really no kind of inhibitor for even relatively small rune holders to be able to provide bond. And I think the main thing people need to understand is a lot of people get into crypto for just crazy. Look, I mean, we get in it to make money, right? Rune is a utility token, right? It's not a meme coin that you hold and just hope that the value spikes. THORChain is solving a real problem, and to do that, it uses Rune as a utility token to facilitate these cross-chain swaps. So just holding it in your wallet is you're doing a disservice to both yourself and the protocol. Bonding it just honestly makes so much sense. I was having this conversation with someone on Twitter yesterday, and just I understand he was burnt with the wind down of THORFi and things like that. I mean, I've got plenty of positions in liquidity and savers as well, but I do believe in the long-term success of THORChain. And if you're going to hold any position in THORChain at all, 100% bonded. It just doesn't make sense to do it any other way. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
I think that was absolutely excellently said, guys. Again, let's make this clear. Why is Runetard teaching other node operators how and trying to increase the decentralized network? Because it not only helps this protocol become more successful and wildly increases our chances to succeed, but THORChain is absolutely essential if we are going to live in a world that is economically free. Okay, there is risk. The stakes are high. Okay, Runetard is not only being a good man, but it's also self-preservation. Okay, we all are doing this together. Kenton, Jane, myself, everyone here listening, the people who are listening to this recording, we are all in this together. Okay, we have to build THORChain. We have to live for something greater than just making money, because you could become a multi-billionaire or whatever. If you do not have freedom in the world, it's all for naught. We have to do this, guys. So as Kenton was saying, yes, THORChain, we're increasing the bond, and maybe we'll get the security above, or Ruggiero will be able to go off to the races. Okay, but there's something even more important than that. It is decentralizing the network and making it harder to destroy. We want to make THORChain as reliable as possible, because if you have systems, let's just take what we know. We have THORChain and we have Ruggiero, right? Does THORChain require Ruggiero to function? No. Does Ruggiero require THORChain to function? Yes. And this is not an indictment on Ruggiero at all. I'm not saying Ruggiero is inferior. I think Ruggiero is incredible technology, but there's obviously a central pillar here. First principles, guys, first principles. There is a central pillar to this entire thing, and that is THORChain proper. So not only are we trying to get more security just to help Ruggiero, and guys, I want to be clear here, and Kenton's already said something like this, you're going to get your security, okay? If we get to 120 nodes and some magically we don't have enough security, the nodes are going to vote to give you security. I am not THORChain. I'm not a node operator, okay? What I am more interested in is making THORChain as hardy and resilient as possible, and we all have to do that together. So please become a bond provider and give the man you just heard, Slambammer, some of your rune. Put it to work. You're earning amazing yield right now, and you're helping make this ecosystem even better than it was before.
Yeah, I can touch on the security too quick. So like, some people are worried or being pessimistic that, oh, you won't be able to raise enough bond, and the security won't go up, and we have to change something. I feel like I'm probably I'm the lone voice who's like kind of fighting it. So I have a feeling something will go through, where the security will be relaxed. So like you're saying, Paige, like I'm sure there's going to be room made to have app layer launch and be able to deposit. And I can get on board with some of the different ideas too. Like I'm not, I think our current security stance is pretty strict. I think we can relax it a bit. But guys, just help me, like with JP using the word optimistic. It's literally the worst word possible to use. Like let's get rid of that word optimistic security. Help me campaign for that. But even however we relax it, it's still the more bond, the more nodes, the better. Any which way, any scenario, any type of security design you envision that you think is right, all benefits from more node operators, more nodes, and more bond. All three benefit your design. So this campaign is just good overall for the health of the network in general. It's not about it only works for a certain design or certain whatever. No, it benefits all designs. So that's why this campaign is good. There's really, honestly, there's no bad that can come out of it. Like the more bond, the more nodes, the more node operators is good, and there's no negative there. It's all win-win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely trying to back you with regards to lobbying JP to consider the narrative a little bit more. I think also in the interest of full transparency, right? I've put this on Twitter as well. In terms of what your risks are as a bond provider, you have the price risk of rune, and depending on the size that you delegate and the node operator policy, it's when the node will churn out and you'll be able to unbond, right? But the point is if you plan on holding a rune position longer than a month, it just makes sense. And I guess the reason why Kenton, myself, other people in the protocol are pushing so hard to get people to provide bond is that the protocol is designed with an alignment of incentives, right? It is, as Kenton is saying, it is just a win-win. It benefits everyone, yourself included.
Right.
Especially, go ahead, Patriot.
Okay. So guys, like, I don't want. Please help me on this, okay? People are saying things, and I know it's a minority, okay? They think like the raise the bond campaign is like a failure or something. No, this has been a blowout success. What we've managed to do. Not only are we getting more distinct node operators, but we're approaching the all-time high of the node operator count, and I think we're going to exceed it. So please if anyone wants to post something like that you're missing the point entirely what we're trying to do. Okay, we are trying to make THORChain more hardy. All right, so please take that energy that you want to say in regards to the raise the bond campaign and just help us push this message, because it's only going to help you. Jane, were you trying to say something? I hope I didn't cut you off there.
No, not me. I'm just trying to say that there is a new speaker, Conrad, that actually I just approved to be a speaker. Yeah, please say something.
Hey, cool. Thanks for letting me speak. Hey, so I just had a quick question. I've been invested in Rune for a while, and I know you guys have talked about it a couple times, about like an easier UI, because for me, just going to somebody on Twitter and bonding, it still doesn't feel comfortable to me. I don't know. So like, is there gonna be something within like a wallet, a Thor wallet, or Voltsig, or anything that you can bond in a more, I don't know, easy way. And then secondly, like, is there like a flywheel that, like, I know with the TCY, where as it's getting money, it's kind of buying itself back? Because I'm just curious if, as the price goes up and people start wanting to get the, living money back and unbonding their rune, like, are we setting ourselves up, or is there like a DAO that's going to constantly, some nodes that are going to keep rebuying and stay forever? Or what's the plan on that?
Okay, for the first point, let me address it, and thanks for asking that. And after the previous space, I dropped out the idea on the UI, a simple user interface that to allow the node operator to list their requirement to recruit more bond providers. And at the same time, that will be the platform for the rune holder to really have a look at what are the node operator out there so that they can request for the whitelist, right? So this UI itself is being worked on. We have a developer that picked it up, and we're already in the beta testing phase. And hopefully very soon we can get it rolled out to let the node operator to list their bond providing requirement, and all the rune holder will have a great avenue to look into it, to request for the whitelist their address. Then from there, you can actually, after your address being whitelisted, then you can easily bond your rune. And with the user interface that currently that we already have, especially like the Valdisic, right? It's very simple. As soon as your address being whitelisted, you just need to put in the node operator address, how many units of the rune that you want to bond, and just one click and another click with the call signing, and then boom, you can just bond your rune just like that. Just really simple. And yeah, now that you ask that, I think, after we launch the UI, probably the first enhancement that we will need to do is to have a simple tutorial to show to the people in the same UI how you can actually simply bond your rune after you get your address whitelisted, right? So that's the first part of it. And the second part of it about the TCY, I just would just chip in my understanding and my comment before Kenton and Patrick can actually put in more. So about the TCY, from my understanding is it is a token that to let all the savers and the lenders to get back the what is supposed to own, right? So the ideal way that we want to see is really the price goes up, and then the holder holding on it, and you get the 10% of the yield in rune. And what is best is with the rune yield, the yield in rune that you get it bond into a node operator. From there, you get more rune from the node operator, the yield in more rune. And that way, we believe in that way, the savers and the lenders, they can even in a faster way to get back the value that they hope to get back, right? So that is what I see it in the most ideal outcome that play out. Yeah. So Kenton and Dennis, what do you think?
I do.
Well,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, like, I understand that how the TCY is to help to get the savers, but I think, what's his name from Maya, he was just kind of saying that there was also kind of like some of the TCY, I don't know if it was a DAO or not, but he said it was going to kind of keep reinvesting and it was going to hang on to it. And so I guess more of my question wasn't, I understand how the savers will get paid back, but it's more, is there something similar with the nodes? Like, is there that flywheel with Rune that's going to keep bonding Rune so that way when people who are trying to unbond their Rune because price is now at $7 and they're like, hey, I'm going to go buy a house or whatever, they don't want to feel like, oh man, I'm about to tank friggin' THORChain, which I believe in, to try to do personal stuff. You kind of want to, it's that balance of like believing in decentralized, but also I want to go buy a house in Singapore.
Well, your question is, who's the exit liquidity? And you're right, it's a great question. I think about it a lot because we're all holding on for Rune going to 10, 20, $100, whatever your number is. Who are we selling to? Who's going to buy it? Right. And, that it's important. That's why the protocol has got to stay healthy and stable and not have any reflexivity in it, because those people buying at those prices, they want to see continued growth, and right, and they don't want to see the price potentially tank on them. So
Exactly.
yeah, so that's why I was always against StoreFi. Is like it's just obvious to just dump Rune in a bull market, like try and time it, and it just makes it really bad in a bear market. But to kind of answer your question is my answer is marketing, and it's something I've been working on with Scorch, and like I think we need a genuine, permanent, ongoing marketing program. So we're constantly getting the primary goal of that is users. So we can get some growth here, get the Rune price going up, and then the secondary part of it will be getting new Rune investors, right? People that actually buy Rune. So that's my belief, my solution, what we need. Because if we're just not talking to anybody, nobody knows about THORChain. We're the only ones buying it, right? There's nobody new coming in to buy from us. So and I would encourage the community too, like get involved. Part of that marketing. Spread the message, repost, retweet. Copy and paste content from one account, put it on LinkedIn. I don't know, do something. But that's how Bitcoin got so huge. Was basically free marketing, and people passionate about it and just talking about it all the time and posting about it, writing books. Like none of those people were paid. They did it out of their own love and volition. And if the community of THORChain is that strong, we can can do way better than any paid marketing can. So I don't want to say paid marketing is the only one final solution, but if we've got thousands of THORChads spreading the message, that'll help. That'll get to those new investors at some point.
100%. I mean, you guys are seeing it in real time, right? I mean, we don't get paid. No one up here gets paid to push the Raise the Bond campaign, but look at what we've managed to achieve, which is simply galvanizing each other and achieving a goal together. And this is incredibly powerful stuff. And I encourage everyone listening to this, please, get involved, do what you can, reach out to other ecosystems, tell them what we've built here, because it's absolutely essential to liberating the world. I believe that in my heart deeply. Conrad, also, I don't know if it was said, I'm sorry if I missed this, but the TCY also, there's the module that will have unclaimed TYC, because there'll be people who come in late to this information. That also, the rewards in the TYC that's unclaimed will be used to buy TYC continuously. So there will be constant buy pressure for those who don't know on TYC on that front as well, which is part of the design. We have a new speaker, guys.
Well,
Boone.
can I? Well, sorry, Boone. Boone, sorry. I do want to address something Conrad brought up about making bonding easier. He doesn't want to message somebody on Twitter. It sounds weird. Should there be a good interface? This is really important, you guys. That's actually a bit. And sorry, Jane, and people working on the site. The website should be fine, but in general, trying to make bonding easier so you don't have to talk to a node operator is hands down the biggest risk here. So people keep asking, what's the risk with bonding my Rune? Slambammer mentioned people are burned in the pools, burned in THORFi, whatever. How are they going to get? Where's my risk in bonding? Your most obvious day-to-day risk is just liquidity, right? Your Rune is locked in the node. You can't sell it easily, right? You got to get the node to churn out to access your Rune. Could be locked up for a few days, maybe a few weeks if churns are paused for like an update or a security patch or something. That's your most obvious surface level risk. Is you're illiquid. You can't sell right away. But your outlier extreme, that end tail risk. What is it? It's bonding Rune to a node operator you don't know, because what you're doing is actually making THORChain insecure, and this is what started the part of the argument behind that THORChain is not economically secure anymore, because people are saying the bond providers don't have a relationship with the node operators. Therefore, the node operators don't have anything at risk. Therefore, the node operators, like they don't have any ruin at risk. They don't have anything to lose. They can just steal. And so that's why people are saying there's no economic security in THORChain anymore, and it's just an illusion. So my point of view is like, well, recognizing that doesn't mean we should keep going. That's not a problem. It's kind of like checking your oil and you fill up your gas tank. Oh, it's empty. Oh, but I've been driving the last few months like this. It's fine. I'll keep going, right? Like, no. That's a warning sign. You need to do something. You need to fill up the oil. Yeah, you can keep driving for another 10, 20, 100, 200 miles. I don't know. But everyone knows at some point your engine's going to seize. So if we keep going down this path of people bond providing to node operators they don't know, we go down this path where we have all these node operators who have every incentive in the world to steal and get away with it because they're anonymous. So node operators should be doxed to their bond providers or have some kind of relationship with their bond providers. That gives the bond providers comfort that the node operator isn't a bad actor. So you can have like a contract, you can have legal security. It could be a friend, a family member, whatever, like where the person lives. There's some way to keep that that's keeping that node operator honest. Whereas if you're just like bonding to some random anon node online, how do you know that isn't North Korea? How do you know that's not a hacker? And maybe to explain it a bit differently, THORChain is a giant multi-sig wallet, right? 67 of 99. Imagine you have your own personal multi-sig wallet of 2 or 3. You have a key, your spouse has a key, and you give the third key to a complete stranger you've never met, you don't know who they are. Like, does that make sense to you? Okay, fine. They only have the one key. They can't take, you still need a 2 of 3. But you never give that other key to just a complete stranger. And so by bond providing to a node operator you don't know, that's literally what you're doing. You're giving a key of THORChain to a complete stranger, and you don't know their intentions. Now, I'm not saying the node operator should be doxed to the rest of the nodes or to the rest of the network or to the developers or anyone else, but the node operator, the bond provider should have some relationship with the node operator. The bond provider, you can still stay doxed, or still, I think you could still stay kind of anonymous in a sense, but you got to have some way, some knowing of that node operator is not malicious. So that's the real main risk with bonding your rune, is bonding to a node operator who is going to attack the network.
If I could also just jump in here, right? So there's 2 things that I want to say. First of all is the network has done a lot of work to, even if one node just to sort of reassure people as well, even if there is one node operator that is completely malicious and does, accrue some bond to churn in, the way that the Asgard vaults are sharded, it still makes it incredibly difficult for them, or impossible for them, to attack the network just owning one malicious node. So there are many layers of security within THORChain, so it's important to keep that in mind. The network isn't immediately fragile, but again, just to elaborate a little bit on what Kenton says, not only is there some risk to the person, delegating to a node that may be malicious, but if we design a massive system where there's very little due diligence that a bond provider would do on their node, and they just, click what seems to be at the top of the list, that may also tend towards centralization of bond to a specific node operator. And in those cases, what we might start to see is risks to the protocol, where bond more and more is allocated towards one individual. And again, I've seen the UI you've created, Jane. It's great. But yeah, those are some things that we really need to keep in mind when we are designing these sort of systems.
Yeah,
Right.
go ahead, Jane.
Sorry. Yeah, I think Kenton and you really make a very fair point and great points. I think when we are working on the UI, I guess there are some certain information we need to really make it mandatory for the node operator to provide when they list their requirement on the UI. And I think at the same time, and also we should, yeah, the node operator address should be also, I guess, fully visible to the rune holder to make a shopping in on the list, right? So at least with the node operator address that visible, then we are able to use the explorer to also do a cross check on the node operator performance. So I guess there are some certain tutorials or educations that we need to do to the rune holder so that they would know, that they'll be aware that these are the key information they should really do the due diligence when they select a particular node operator to request for the whitelist. And absolutely, it is very important for us to have a relationships with the node operator before we send our rune to the bonding. As like, for example, I bond with Kenton because Kenton is dogs. Right, I saw Kenton on the YouTube talk about it being so active, and I'm not going to lie, this is really part of the reason why I choose to bond with Kenton. Yeah, so well taken note, and I will work with the dev to make sure that, you know, some certain important information to be on the UI. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because I was thinking the UI would also have a means to communicate to the node, right? And we said this about almost like 2 or 3 spaces back. We flowed the idea of having some sort of like clout score, or maybe like some metric where you know, it just makes it much safer, and we have an ability, you know, because Kenton's right. And one thing that really gets my teeth, like I just grind my teeth when I hear the argument that, you know, especially the optimistic security thing, is, you know, what other protocols do. Like I remember I don't remember the name, I don't care about the protocol, but it was like there's like some $1.5 billion in assets that are being secured by a bond that's like 100-something million dollars. I mean, and it works, air quotes works. I don't want ever to do anything to do with that. And I'm sorry, like just because another protocol does that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for us, because those the bond could have legal liability. They could be fully doxed organizations, right? This is THORChain. THORChain could run completely anonymous. Like every node operator that's except BPs could churn out at some point because they don't want to do it anymore, and then we would go back to a completely anonymous system. Like, you guys understand, this is not the same thing as that. We're building something here that's going to be hardy and resilient for not just years to come, but I'm hoping generations, right? Boone, I want to go. Oh, go ahead, Kenton. But
No, I was going to say it frustrates me, all those comparisons, because I know people making them should be smart enough to acknowledge that there's other components to those designs that is preventing them from being hijacked. Because there is no way, I mean, you see this in crypto all the time. If there is any edge case, any wiggle room for somebody to steal, they do it. Right? Look at the Hyperliquid. I don't know if you want to call it attack or exploit, right? You know, trying to, right? There's so many people in crypto that will code is law, right? And they're going to take advantage of any system. There is no way there's $1 billion sitting there, which somebody with a few million can roll up and take, and this is not being done yet. Like that doesn't exist. There's a reason the validator set is permissioned, or it's capped. The validators know they have a relationship with the people providing that billion TVL. There's something else to that story preventing it from being stolen. There's no way you have anonymous people with nothing to lose protecting $1 billion. Like it doesn't exist, you guys. Like that's fairy tale. So, but prove me wrong. This is why I posted to JP. Listen, we have THORSec. We have apparently world-class white hat hackers. Let's give them a few $100,000 to go hijack one of these other networks. You know, and if they can, then it proves that it doesn't work. If they can't, then they prove it does work. And then we can adopt it. Like we have the real StageNet, real test case for these other designs. Like the whole point of StageNet on THORChain is to try and break the new code, break the new design. And if it can't be broken, then it gets implemented into THORChain mainnet. Well, we have these other protocols with these other so-called worse security designs that are apparently so vulnerable, we'll try and break them. If they can be broken, we shouldn't adopt it. If it can't be broken, then let's adopt it. And it's not like we're spending money, right? We still have that. You don't lose money by bonding it, by being the validator. You still own it. So it's not like it's a cost. So I would encourage anyone championing those designs, well, first try and break it first before we adopt it.
Also, just we need, again, I very much agree with the sentiment of that, but I would caution us against the narrative of that as well, just in terms of making sure that we come out looking like the good guys in there, like the white hats instead of the black hats in that situation.
Well, that's the White Hat's job, however they want to handle that. I assume they've got there's a way to block that line. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you exploit weaknesses in someone else's security design. That's pretty much a white hack. I mean, they'd have to steal the funds and not return them to switch the morality there on that. Boone, I want to give you a chance to speak here. Thank you for your patience. Go ahead, sir.
I actually didn't have anything immediately to contribute off the top. I mean, I do have some ideas perhaps for a second, but just because I was late to the conversation, I wanted to kind of see what had been covered and what was going on. But Jane had just invited me up, so that's why I got.
Oh, I got you. Perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
Welcome, Boone.
Thank you. But if the point of this space was to talk about Rune price, I do have I have like a bunch of reasons to be bullish on Rune down the road. So later on, I can talk about that.
Let's get into it, I guess. Yeah, I didn't realize we already 40 minutes into bonding security. Let's let's get in. Let's start talking about the price. What are your thoughts, Boone?
Well, I don't know if people saw, but a few weeks ago, I put out a op-ed on TCU of just about why to be bullish on Rune, and I think Conrad spoke to this a little bit. Like, why does Rune have value? And sorry, let me gather my thoughts for a second. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest bull case is that as crypto becomes more and more prevalent, and I mean, I personally think because nation states cannot help themselves, they will inevitably attempt to take advantage of any advantage they can take advantage. More and more people will switch over to decentralized permissionless money, and so crypto broadly eventually I think will eat pretty much all of money, right? And so there's trillions of dollars of assets currently, and then quadrillions of dollars of derivatives in the traditional markets. Over time, 15, 20, 25 years, it's hard to really say how long it'll take. I don't know how to predict that, but I do see it's inevitable that because people will not want governments able to seize or steal their hard-earned money either directly through confiscation or through the far more insidious effects of inflation and devaluation, which we've seen recently, and I expect we'll see a lot more in the near term as well. People will shift over to crypto, to Bitcoin, to stable coins, whatever. And if the future is on chain, as I believe, then a decentralized permissionless money needs a decentralized permissionless market. Like Bitcoin is great, but it's volatile, right? Like if you have money that you're counting on, maybe you're not comfortable with it having a 20% drop in a month, right? If that's you can't, that's not a risk you can take for your time preference for whatever reason. And so you're going to need a different asset that isn't so volatile. Let's say stablecoins, USD, that over time is losing money to inflation and devaluation, but in the short term is a lot more value or stable. And so we're going to need a way to go between the two. And if we believe in freedom and human liberty, which I do, and I think most THORChats do, then you need a permissionless protocol that enables that. And that's the premise of THORChain. And I still, even, there's Maya protocol, which I love, is great. But aside from them, I don't see another protocol that offers that capacity with the hardcore permissionless cypherpunk ethos of crypto. And so, it's like in the gold rush, you don't want to be mining gold. You want to sell shovels, and charging 8 bips on a swap in and out of Rune is the shovel. And I think long term is just really, really hard to see how, short of like some catastrophic hack or something like that, THORChain doesn't just win over time. And that's why, despite all the recent problems, that vision remains unchanged. And my bullishness and belief in it hasn't altered despite the issues. And I mean, if you look at like sex volumes of Bitcoin swaps, THORChain does less than 1% of that. And as we improve the user experience and more people keep funds in their wallets instead of on sexes, why would you ever, especially on Bitcoin, with 10-minute block times, why would you ever transfer your Bitcoin from your wallet to a sex, do a change, and then transfer it back to your wallet? If you can do it all inside your wallet without the hassle, and just over time, and especially hopefully as THORChain's reputation improves and just fades into the background, hopefully people don't even see that they're using THORChain just because it's so ubiquitous. That's still like that base layer bull case just has never changed for me. And I'll pause here.
Well, Boone, I didn't hear a price target. So in your worldview, in the next several years, and that plays out, what's the price of Rune going to be?
I'm not technical enough to do that. Like, I don't know how to do the modeling to come up with a price. To the moon is my price target.
All right. And by the way, Heimdall, I'm trying to get you up here. Nordic Knight. I don't know if you're requesting to come up. I can't add you. I don't know, Jane or Patriot, if you can add him.
I have sent a request to him to be a speaker, but
Okay.
he hasn't accepted yet. Yeah.
Okay, maybe he's not listening because we weren't talking about price yet. But for you guys who don't know, Heimdall Rune, he does technical analysis on the Rune chart, and he posts. I don't know. He's been doing it for years now. It's actually been pretty good. Like, it's been frustrating because he's been right about like a lot of the downside, and he's actually called some of it pretty good. And so,
Hi.
Oh, there he is. Right on. Welcome, Heimdall Rune. Yeah, glad you're willing to join us and share your thoughts, because it's, you always, from following you now for a little while, you tell it how it is, not how you want it to be. Despite you actually do wanting maybe different outcomes, you are pretty honest in your analysis. I'm glad you're coming up to chat and share your thoughts with us on the Rune chart.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's my pleasure. Yeah, I guess you're right about that. I started doing that, like the Rune TA a couple of years back, I suppose, and most of my posts have been a little bit abrasive, I suppose, within the community, because I'm not telling people what they want to hear, rather what I, think is going to happen. And of course, I get it when you're having a exceptionally bullish outlook on tokenomics and what Rune or THORChain should be, and how you want it to behave and how important you personally feel that it is. It's not always reflected in the chart, and especially not when there's some sort of stuff going on behind the scenes that just doesn't allow it to go that way. So I'm not sure. I made some posts yesterday, basically in preparation of this talk. I'm not sure if you guys have seen them or have any questions, but
Well, I did see them, and I'm trying to forget them.
that's possible.
They're pretty well. Maybe you can help put them in more into context. So let's talk about the bearish chart I saw. You had a chart having Rune going down to like 15 cents or something.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And that was but that was predicated on Bitcoin price collapsing too.
Yeah, everything is pretty much hinging on Bitcoin right now, and Rune, I suppose, has, well, the problem is that I've seen in the charts myself, and I'm not sure if you guys can relate to what I see, but every time when Rune is trying to break out of this bearish trend, there's a lot of movement coming from THORChain itself, like from on-chain and the sexes, and then people are just unloading massive clips. Like if you look, for example, what happened on, I think it was Sunday, the 9th of March, I think. I'll just go back here on my chart and see. Yeah, I think it was, no, sorry, this one chart. Yeah, so here on the 10th of March, yeah, you saw that it actually tried to break out and it had some pretty positive bullish volume. And then we just saw millions of Rune being transferred over from THORChain itself onto Binance, actually. And some large short positions opening, and then someone, I don't know who it is, just started unloading like millions of clips at the same time, just market, which is obviously not good for the price. And then, but I've been seeing that kind of behavior for a while. It's almost like people say like, okay, this is not going to go any higher. I want it down. And then of course they're going to, short in addition, because, a lot of these large moves, they actually don't originate from THORChain itself. And therefore you won't be able to see the fees generated from them as well. They actually move them, as far as I've been able to analyze, like on-chain or on the sexes, and they use leverage to make these moves even worse. Of course, better for them, obviously. But if you have a clip worth of like 1 million Rune, of course you're going to move it to a sex and open up a short in addition, because there's nobody who can stop you from doing that. Really, it's not really regulated. Anyway, but if you will look at the chart that I made, that you're referring to, the one that you're trying to forget, I am also trying to forget, and I have to tell you honestly that my heart is not in the wrong place. I do not want to see THORChain fail. I actually want it to succeed. I've made a lot of friends in the THORChain community, and I think people consider me being trustworthy, and I really love the community in itself. It's not been good. Like I feel that a lot of the internal movements of the price have been, some of the insiders, I don't know who, and I'm not even going to consider, speculating on who it might be, have been abusing the loyalty some people have regarding the protocol, by, extremely profit taking at certain key points. So yeah, if we look at the chart that you're referring to now, there's an obvious trend forming where, if you look at the lows since it's been listed on Binance, right? So it opened up on Binance at, I think it was, let me see, yeah, so like about 10 cents, or no, that's not true, 60 cents. Is that correct? Is that the opening price? 50 cents, something around there. Hard to see. Anyway,
What
then
do
it
you
went
mean? Sorry, what do you
down.
mean opening price? Sorry, hi, Bill. Do you mean like when it's the very first day of trading on Binance, or what do you
Yes,
mean?
yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
So it
So like
opened up
a
at
few
about,
years ago.
yeah, it was in September 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at the price since then, right? So we're now pretty much in the same area, kind of finding support on the first breakout it did since it was listed on Binance. Like, of course, it was traded before that, but on the Binance listing, I think we're now at the top, exactly on the top of the December 20 breakout, when it started to go pretty much parabolic, I suppose. But if you look at the trend since then, if you look at the trend, like there hasn't been a single time where the price has dipped below a certain trend line, right? So you went down at the lowest port on Binance on, I think it was Saturday, the 19th of September in 2020, where the price was 33 cents. Then in the bear market that followed after, we dipped on, I think it was 80 or 77 cents or something like that. If you connect these dots and you draw a reasonable trend line, you will see that the price pretty much crashed through it. It tried to regain above it again at 1.6 in beginning of March, which was very much rejected. So this leads me to believe that it is, trying to flip this particular trend line back into bullish, but it's failing. So somebody is sitting on that top of the trend and just gunning down whenever it tries to poke its head above it. If you then draw the same line down, you pretty simply, with all the support it has had since it went into the bull and into the bear, the only logical conclusion is if it doesn't get above that trend line, it has to go down. And that is the only line of support that is left on a macro basis. So if BTC does not manage to go back into a bull market, which is, in my opinion, possible, maybe not very likely, but it's definitely possible, then you would probably get some sort of black swan event. And then I can definitely see the price of Rune going, well, yeah, let me just see. Yeah, it would hit maybe like approximately 20 cents, I guess. That is worst case scenario. That is if BTC completely craps the bed, then you know it's bye bye for this cycle at least. That is the bottom that you probably need to look at. Now there's some sort of other scenarios as well. Like does BTC turn bullish? That case, I could probably see we going back to retest that trend line. We might hit like 1.7. Best case scenario would be if we actually hit a bullish cipher, which is the last post I posted. I'm not sure if you guys can see my profile, but there's a bearish cipher forming on Rune. I'm not sure if you guys know what a bearish cipher is.
No, please explain that.
Yeah, there's a thing in trading, like everything in trading is based on mathematics, right? Or at least most of it. Price is fractal and it's based on mathematics and Fibonacci's. And the way certain trend lines interact with each other is based on Fibonacci's as well. And there's a trading school, which is called harmonics, where they take the lengths and the angles of certain trend lines and compare them with Fibonacci extensions. Now, there's a bunch of them. Maybe you've heard of them, like the bullish bearish butterfly, the bearish butterfly, the crab, the shark, etc., etc. There's one that's called a cipher, which is basically a two-wave structure, which has a certain harmony within it, and it usually moves the opposite direction once the harmony is completed. That one says that there's a bearish one. That means that once it's completed, the price is going down again, but it has a target of approximately $9. That is the most bullish case that I can give you if BTC actually starts going to, and then we probably have to go to BTC like $150,000, which is pretty much 2x from here, and then you can maybe hit that target. But there's of course the mental barrier as well with I know that we've been trying to meme up, if you will, THORChain for a while, and the only meme that actually stuck was the THORChain or Rune to $6 meme, and not in a positive sense. So that kind of sucked.
Right.
Yeah, so there was kind of a negative side effect of our memeing with the $6 one. I think it's better if everybody just shut up about it, in my opinion. But yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah, so short term, if what happens today and tomorrow actually is pretty important, because today is the last weekly close and tomorrow is the monthly close of the month of March. And in the month of March, of course, we had the BTC price going down to $76,000, if I'm not mistaken, 76,600, which means that if the monthly closes above this and it doesn't want to go below this particular trend line that I can actually post on my profile here. So I'm just going to make a tweet so you guys can actually, if you look at my tweet, you can actually see what I mean. There's this there's this upper channel going on with BTC right now, and it's hugging it like very closely. It dipped a little bit below in the month of March. So if we can actually close above this and start going up from here, then I might have some positive vibes about the move up, maybe if you will, of Bitcoin at least towards the summer. If it does not do that, then we have a problem, because then it would be bad. I usually have one particular rule for myself when it comes to charts in general, and that is like the weekly 20 exponential moving average is the sign if a coin is bearish or bullish. As long as it's above it, it's bullish. As long as it's below it, it's bearish. Currently, Bitcoin is below it. It comes in at, let me see where it comes in. Look at it on the chart here. So yeah, the weekly 20 is coming in at 88,000. So yeah, that would mean that, we just got rejected by it again, which means that, there's a large chance that we're actually not going to turn bullish in anytime soon. Of course, we can go up, but it has seen a couple of rejections already. In addition, if I turn on another indicator here, this indicator, the weekly for Bitcoin has had three drives of bearish divergence in the run up here, right? And it is now also being rejected by the 50 RSI median line. I'm not sure. Do you guys know what I'm talking about at all, or just ask questions or
I
interrupt
do.
me? Because
I'm able to follow. I don't know. Jane, Patriot, do you understand the terms? What was he saying?
I do understand. I think here let's talk about charts for a second, because I think one thing in my mind is charts are useful if you accept the paradigm that the situation does not change. Like you're trying to intuit what's going to happen, the future behaviorism of the market based on the dynamics of, let's say, BTC or whatever metric you want to use. Okay. The one thing I will say, and I'm glad you actually brought this up, Nordic, because I want if there is to be a bear case to be made, I want it public and open so we can all talk about it, right? The great thing that I would say, and I've used this same methodology before and to wild success, is that you guys have agency to change the outcome of whatever it is you want to do. And that when we talk about the community, we are extremely powerful. Okay. Look at what the changes that we've made on this protocol. We no longer have block rewards. The community is galvanized and is becoming together, and we're finding a cohesive strategy now together. Finally, Kenton is pushing marketing. I'm right there with him. We've all come together, and so if you guys don't want this bearish thing to become a reality, it should be your goal to make Nordic's projection as unlikely as possible, and you can take you can make actions to go against that, right? So I'm really thankful you actually came up here, man, because I want people to just not to be pie in the sky thing, because I think everyone agrees on the fundamental level. THORChain has the ability to just achieve mind-blowing results when it comes to price. But I think that becomes more likely and only possible when the community at large becomes galvanized and motivated. Go ahead, Jane. I think you're trying to say something.
Yeah, I'm not a trader. I do understand that some of the terms, not 100% understand, but when it comes to the price, I think because I believe in THORChain, I believe the potential, I believe the future is really is so important in crypto landscape. So therefore, to me, in terms of price, I very often that I apply my left curve, right? So if the price is really drop until like what he said, right, at the level of like below $1, trust me, Kenton, I will ping you, tell you that, hey, I'm buying more, I'm going to bond more. Yeah, that is really my left curve or right curve, you want to say, but definitely not the middle curve. Yeah.
So, okay, can I do something? Try and do something a little fun here. Okay, so Nordic Knight. Let's do something here. Let's say Rune goes down, whatever, 15 cents, 30 cents, 60 cents, whatever it is. Okay, how do you factor in? Say something like, what would you do in that? Would you say, hey, let's increase the burn from 5% to 10%? Like, what are the externalities of THORChain that you think are the most bullish or can counteract? Like, is the raise the bond campaign or adding chains? Like, what are the bullish catalysts that would make you rethink your projection in terms of a bad price?
all right, that's a good question. Actually, to be honest, for me, I guess the largest thing that would have to change to make this thing go around is the fact that there's still a lot of negativity alive in the space, and there's a lot of trust being lost, I guess. I also have the feeling that, there's, and I'm not trying to put blame on anybody here, but I think you can all agree, like what Jane just said, if it goes down, I'm just going to buy more. There's a lot of people like her, and rightly so. If you believe in it, I mean, by all means, go ahead. But there's been a bunch of complaints about the price in general, and what we should have done about it, and they've been met with sarcasm or a dismissal from certain key people. I think that a lot of people need to start believing in THORChain again, in the fact that these, if I put my money in it, I mean, there's of course a core believer here, but what I've mentioned in the THORChain community channel as well, like I think it was 2 days ago, is that I feel that the THORChain community in itself is a little bit cannibalistic, in the sense that you have this core of believers, and there's obviously a lot of people with large bags. I mean, you just look at the volume that is been selling, that have been making use of this so-called loyalty or trust on the backs of the people who actually do believe in it. And I think that there's a lot of people still on the fence, because they think like, okay, if I'm going to do it this time once more, who's going to say that all these fancy promises that are being made by certain people are not going to be robbing me from my hard-earned money yet again. So that would be one thing. I mean, like a public perception type of marketing switch would be, the most important thing. Because if you ask anybody outside of the THORChain community, okay, what do you think about THORChain? They will come up with two things. That is like, one is it's been hacked like twice. Or the second thing is like, yeah, well, didn't you guys just go bankrupt, and didn't you guys just steal $200 million from people who put their money in it? It is, I'm not saying it's true or not. It's just a public perception
No,
of
you're
people
right.
who are not inside the community, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Slambammer.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm so glad that you brought that up. That's the exact reason that I am becoming a node operator, right? Is I have pretty much all my crypto tied up in either liquidity pools or savers positions, and my thinking was, how do I incentivize the network? How do I increase my profile, and how do I push for what I think the network should do in order to maintain the trust of all those participants? So yeah, I'm really glad that you said that, and yeah, I think from my part, it's about us, pushing, everyone involved. Don't be a passive holder of Rune, right? If you think that the network should go one way or another way, to what Patriot was saying, put your Rune to work, put it to a node operator who's pushing for the position that you believe in. Yeah, and let's get it done.
Okay, so I have a question here, because this is how something that maybe Boone or Kenton, you can speak to this. So as we were talking about earlier, we were talking about being having more security than liquidity, right? The perception of safety of THORChain is something that we once had, because the Nordic Knight is correct. Now, the way he describes as, it may not be accurate, but that doesn't matter if it's not accurate, because he's actually accurate in the terms, the way that people perceive THORChain, which is enormously powerful. So the question I have is, how much of a market premium, or how much does it factor in people's minds when you talk about the network being over bonded, or at least having more assets that can that support the liquidity pools than that? Like, what is the market premium there of safety of the network? And if you were to surrender that and say, let's just have an infinite amount of assets that can be called secured and covered, like, does that not feed into the narrative that the Nordic Knight has just said, that is largely the perception of the ecosystem, the larger ecosystem of THORChain itself? It's like, oh, here they go again. They're doing something that's only going to result in the same catastrophe. Like, this community is incapable of learning. Like, what's your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I kind of agree with that. That's like one of my issues with if we remove the hard cap, let's say we open it wide open, we get all this TVL, everything's going awesome. And but then people start waking up to, wait a second, there's these nodes have like an incredible motivation to steal, and they're all anon, and we've lost the 1/3 plus one benevolent nodes, or whatever word term you want to use, that are using the same, somebody like myself running multiple nodes, we're using the same node operator address, which makes it harder for us to steal if that was our intention. But what if those nodes get turned off? Our bond providers leave, whatever, and that 1/3 plus one number shrinks to 10% of the network, and now you've got 90% of the network, all with unique node operator addresses, all anon nodes. People might start to think, well, wait a second, this is ripe for people to steal, and then that starts being reflected in the rune price. Because if like right now we've got 5 Asgard vaults, like somebody, we don't need to see somebody steal all of the crypto and all the vaults. We just need to see somebody steal from one of the vaults. So you only need like, say 20-ish nodes, and just kind of be patient, wait till you get into, hopefully you can get all your nodes into one Asgard vault. And that's assuming that 1/3 plus one, like, honest nodes are gone, and it's all just random anonymous individual node operators. We don't know their intentions. That starts making it a possibility. And so for me, that's why I'm like, well, relying on this whole 1/3 plus one situation, I'm like, yeah, it works now, it's fine now, but it's really no different than following the Rune to Bitcoin price ratio. As soon as it gets to a certain level, things kind of start to unravel, and people get scared and get freaked out, and they want to leave. So if we're relying on this 1/3 plus one number, if that ever drops, then all of a sudden, people are gonna be watching it and want to leave and sell Rune. So it would make, in my opinion, makes the Rune price insecure.
Yeah, if I may say something about that as well, there's another way of putting it as well, right? What I've been trying to tell in the community channel as well, like the price in itself is a direct factor in this security model, right? So if you now would decide to lower the security model and say, okay, we're gonna open up space and put it to work and all that, like that's been discussed, it is assuming the price as it is today versus Bitcoin, right? Or the exogenous assets. I'm not going to look at F too much because it's been sucking as well, but let's just say Bitcoin, just for the ease of it. If somebody were to, dump a large amount of Rune, that could push the security below a 1-to-1 ratio even. If you already lowered the security in addition, right? So in my opinion, you always have to remember, like, if you look at Luna, Do Kwon said, okay, there's a risk of somebody hijacking the protocol by depegging us from through Anchor, but it would require $1.4 billion to do so. So it's not likely that happens, like astronomically small. But guess what? Somebody came up with $1.4 billion and they did it anyway, right? So yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you are offering something that is potentially disruptive to, the status quo of what sexes have, like CX exchanges, like centralized exchanges, and you're trying to be, giving people freedom and authority over their assets, then the number that you need to destabilize THORChain like that for a bad actor would actually not be that much, especially not if you start lowering the security of it. But that's just my 2 cents. Like, I'm just looking at it from that kind of perspective. I don't think it's a good idea. Of course, could it be different? I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, what could we have been doing different? A lot of things, I suppose.
Said. That was perfectly
said. And that's why, yeah. So I just want to add to that's why it's so important for bond providers to have a relationship with the node operators, because the way things are going right now is a node operator can spin up a node with a few grand, bare metal node, and just go, track bond providers. And if we have like auto bond, if we change the bond providers to 1,000 or unlimited, and make it very easy for anybody to bond, all a bad actor would have to do is just go out and promote, and wouldn't have to buy any rune himself. Just go out and solicit to existing rune holders to come bond with them, and just have a unique node operator address for each node, so nobody will know that person is controlling how many nodes they have, and it makes it very cheap. The only real cost is just promoting, soliciting to get all those bond providers. I don't think it would cost $1 billion. Maybe it costs them a few, several million, whatever. But if we have, billions in TVL, all the attacker has to do is just do that math, right? If I spend X amount of millions to steal billions, now it makes sense. So I hope, does that make sense? Do you guys understand that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think, okay, guys, this is the thing. Okay, I just want to break it down, right? This is how I think of THORChain and Ruggiera, and we have Mocha that just joined, is in the audience. That's great. And all these different economic primitives that built on THORChain. In a world where node operators are good and dandy, like the ones we have now, nothing can happen that's bad, right? Like you could scale it to ad infinitum and it's okay. But this is, this breaks game theory 100%. This is it destroys first principles, because what do we represent, guys? What is THORChain, Ruggiera, Mocha, and everything else? We are changing the game. We are changing everything. This is an absolute 0-to-1 innovation on multiple levels that has never existed before. We are threatening banks. We are threatening credit card companies. We are threatening everything on the economic system that is built for years. And so when you are that powerful, when we have the ability to become that powerful, it is going to get us enemies. And now I'm not trying to be bearish here or say something bad's going to happen, but if you leverage the security model, you are going to invite people to attack us 125%. Okay. And these people are so powerful. They own trillions of dollars in assets. Okay. It is nothing for them to sling billions of dollars in an attempt that could destroy THORChain. You have to start thinking about what we represent and how absolutely fundamental and crucial THORChain and the wider ecosystem is. We are changing everything, and to liberate the next generations is no small feat, guys. And that's why we have to tread very carefully here, very carefully, because right now we could leverage our security model and nothing bad's going to happen. Absolutely nothing. It's going to work great. Ruggiera would pop off and go absolutely nuts. The volume would probably be wonderful. We're going to make lots of fees, but you have to think long term when these other players start waking up and understanding what we built here, because it's truly revolutionizing everything. We have a new speaker, guys. Dante, go ahead.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, let me introduce myself. I am a moderator in the notorious Rune Super Traders trading group, and it's my pleasure to be here. I just want to give you my 2 cents. Well, first of all, I love the technology. I love Rune. I am being around since 2021 and still. And my perception is that right now, as you said, the Patriot, Rune will have enemies. It's obvious. But right now we are facing a situation, in my opinion, where the enemy, as the perception of the community, was rather within THORChain and not outside of it. Because the 200 million that is missing, whether we break it down to lenders and what was the other one? The Thor saves, it's rather coming from within the ecosystem. And that's the problem. That's why it's a bit hard to shield. How could I possibly shield it for somebody else to say when their perception is, you went bankrupt, and I heard that it was, whether it was due to bad economic design or whether if it was a malicious intent, we don't know. But what they see now is that right now you have a campaign, or we could say like collectively THORChain has a campaign to bond your Rune. And it's again like asking another favor from the community to bond your asset. to give it away, which again, I have no problem with it, but perceiving it as asking an additional favor and asking an extra trust is just a bit of a hard pill to swallow. And right now I would like to tell something just as my outro, that yesterday we had a conversation in the THORChain Telegram community along with Heimdall, or as you can understand him now as the Nordic Knight. And he proposed something, so it was his idea. I don't want to take credit for it, but I do share it, which is, in my opinion as well, that the ball to do something right now is in the hand of THORChain, which can be done by perhaps burning major chunks of the reserve and pumping the price. Because like what, 2 or 3 weeks ago when the campaign started, we needed like 5 million runes to bond, and the progress was great. But now Rune has dipped along with Bitcoin, and now we have not 5 but 8.5 million runes to go. So if we were to launch Rujira without the security budget and the price is so volatile, then we are going to be exposed to this whole movement. And do we want that? Well, I think it was just like a rhetorical question. But burning Rune from the reserve can be done by perhaps voting on it. And you guys have huge power in this ecosystem. So if you are along with it, if you want it, I think that's something that the community can back you up and we can regain trust. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah,
thank you.
There's a few things there. I don't know if burning the reserve actually affects the rune price at all, because it's not in the circulating supply. It's in its own module, and it's actually consuming more rune now, because rune used in gas transactions goes to the reserve. So I understand the perception maybe that it might, but I don't think that necessarily has a effect on the price. But there's something I thought you said that was actually really important, and you guys can hear it in his voice. You know what I mean? And this is real. We have to own this, guys. There's no censorship up here. Like, there's feelings of betrayal out there, and there's a lot of hurt feelings, and rightly so, right? So you got to understand, and especially a lot of people, we can't be tone deaf to this. This has real power, and we have to own our mistakes, because, you know, I think it's something we can do, right? We are an innovative protocol, and we said from the very beginning that we're going to try different things because we're legitimately interested in liberating the world. But when we fuck up, we have to own it, and we have to understand that, right? And we have a reputation problem right now because, yes, our THORFi thing did blow up. He's correct. And, you know, even on the Rujira side, their blow up wasn't as bad as ours in terms of dollar value, but, you know, there's going to be a reputational hit there. So we have to work together and repair THORChain and let the world know, the wider ecosystem, that we're different now. Like, we tried doing things in a good faith, honest attempt at moving the needle, at trying something new. But we don't have the political capital anymore to really be like, as Dante was saying. So, Kenton, were you trying to say something there? I want to give you a chance.
Oh yeah. So thanks, Dave, for joining. It's great. And you're absolutely right about everyone within THORChain's biggest problem has been THORChain itself. You know, some of the choices have been made, and then so I agree with you, and you're absolutely right about people being scared, shy, skittish, burnt out, whatever, because of recent problems. So you're absolutely right, and that's actually kind of why I think this Raise the Bond campaign has been so successful, because in spite of all that, we are still getting, it is still working. You know, so there's still hope there, if you will, and I suspect that as you know, time heals all wounds, right? As we get further and further away from January, it'll be no different than the hacks a couple of years ago. You know, we'll digest it, we'll get over it, and especially if things are improving, and you know, people will start to forget and forgive, and especially the TCY price does well. The existing lenders and savers hopefully they can be made whole. Let's just say they are, and they're all happy, they're ecstatic. We're still gonna wear that default. Like that's gonna follow us for years, right? We're not gonna be able to shed that to an outsider, right? But I think the way we do fight that or do address it is just by succeeding, right? Just by growing THORChain, getting the volume up, getting the room price up, just like, rebuilding, and just, changing the focus, and just like, hey, we've gone past it, things are better now. But that, again, that's just going to take time. There's no magic bullet to that. We just got to do right and deliver to everybody.
Correct. Guys, you have to understand where our reputation is. We have to show them that we're different now, and we have to lead by example. Okay. Kenton is absolutely right. We're going to need some time. I mean, the TYC asset has not even been dispersed yet. Okay. The pain is still very real, and people, looking from the outside in, they don't see what we're doing here. They're not necessarily listening to this space and understanding that we are consolidating around a vision. And I just want everyone from all the ecosystems to understand what we're trying to do here. Both Rugirans, THORChads, Maya Protocol. I see 13 Heavens here. We're now entering a new phase where we're being mature, we're being thoughtful, and we have a longer time horizon. Like, we have to have. I know. Like, I am so excited for Jira, guys. Like, I lose sleep over how excited I am for Rajira. Okay. But we need to collectively understand, we just got to have a little patience here, and let's get the fundamentals rock solid. I'm not saying there's not more we can do. I'm absolutely open to doing more to get Rajira off the ground, and it will happen, guys. I'm telling you right now, it will. But understand that the perception of THORChain right now, it's something that you have to calculate, and it is not trivial. It is not trivial at all. Okay, we don't have a lot of reputation right now that's positive from the outside. So we have to earn that back. So prepare yourself to do that.
That's why, sorry to interrupt you, but that's like why I'm been fighting this whole remove the hard cap narrative, because I just feel like it's desperate. Like, THORChain's been through so much. Well, also too, I mean, you really gotta, as an insider, we understand the story, right? But let's just step out. Let's pretend we're outsiders and we only know the superficial story. Like, okay, THORChain just defaulted on debt. It just blew up. JP deleted his tweets, deleted his Discord account, and now he wants to get rid of the hard cap. And it's like, is this a rug pull? Like, what is going on here? Like, it's a very, very bad look. So I don't like, again, the Patriot, you're right. I want Rajira. I want app layer. Trust me. I see the potential. I get it. But, I think we can afford we have to be delicate here. We don't have much reputation to hold on to here. Right. And if we just outright get rid of the hard cap just because we want to try and pump the price, it could backfire. I don't mean by being stolen. I just mean by perception and reality, marketing. But so all that being said, like, I am open to relaxing the cap, and I get it. Make room for Rajira. We get more trading volume that pumps up the rune price. Then security gets back to where it was before. I understand that. That makes sense to me. I'm okay with that. My overall issue is just completely removing the hard cap unlimited. I think that's when we get into problems. If we're like $1 rune for $2 of crypto, I'm sure it's fine, especially right now, like with our existing node operator set. I'm not worried about it. It's the medium to long term that worries me. And because what'll happen is everything's fine now, and we'll just leave it, and then several years from now is when it all falls apart. And to kind of add to Boone and Patriot, what you're saying, like, why a lot of us are still here. We're in it for the tech. We want to change the world and build something that's amazing and helps people. I don't want to build something that just ends up destroying a bunch of capital several years from now, 10 years from now. And maybe I decide to leave THORChain for whatever reason. Maybe we all do. We want to, we leave our legacy, we want to hand over to the next people that inherit it, we want it to be good, right? We don't want them inheriting a mess. So, you know, we're building for the long term here. And so somebody's got a lot of background noise on their mic. I don't know.
Dante. Okay, thank you, Dante.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a new speaker, Koitsu. I just approved him to be a speaker. So let's hear from him. He is a really incredible community members and also a moderator on the Dev Discord. So Koitsu, over to you.
Oh, hi, Gene. 大家好. I wanted to address a couple things from what I've been hearing. I've only been here for maybe 30 minutes or so. Anytime I see community or KOV folks or even OG devs propose changes in combination with existing changes that are going on, I become very reluctant to accept those changes, only because I think THORChain historically has made bad decisions with regards to certain economic choices because they try to do too many things in a short period of time. I think if anything we've learned from THORFi and that whole debacle is that, and trying to recover from it, is we should go very slowly, one thing at a time. And I know that Alex from Maya feels the same way. Like, let's make one change and kind of look at the economic data over, say, a month or maybe longer, and I would prefer longer, and see if things are working how they should be, and then go on to the next change. So I don't like the idea of just sort of nuking the cap at the same time as all the other things that are going on. I don't think that's a good idea. The other two things I wanted to cover were the proposal or the mention of possibly taking the reserve and somehow using that to help with the situation at all. I don't think you can do that. And even if you could, I can guarantee you Nine Realms isn't going to go for it. They've been very, very adamant historically about that you do not touch the reserve. And we can talk about that in more detail if you want, but that's a big no-no. The last point is with regards to, like, we talked about that in the context of burning. So to me, burning is separate from the reserve. So if we were talking about burning rune solely for the goal of doing a price bump, I would be strongly against that, because that is not organic growth. Anybody with two eyes would see that and go, yeah, why would the price just jump like that? Well, because they burnt a bunch of rune. Well, that's not going to last. And so it's not organic growth. So I don't think I don't think that the community is dumb enough to believe that would, like, oh, people are now interested. No, we just did a thing where we burned 25%. So I would go against that. Not to be a downer, but I would rather have organic growth and things that are, you know, slow and steady. Also, one of the reasons why I'm big on the whole rune bonding thing going on right now. But Kenton and others brought up some good points about the whole security aspect of THORChain, and how would it be possible to get a certain number of nodes where you have control over, if enough of them are in one single vault where you could actually steal funds. That's scary. But don't talk like that, Kenton.
Yeah, well, no, but we have to, right? This is this is what frustrated me with THORFi is, like, you know, everyone just avoided the edge cases, didn't want to talk about it, or glossed over it. And it's like, no, just because we hone in and talk about an edge case doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? But we have to think about it and address it. But I want to add to some of your points. So yeah, burning the reserve. Put it this way: the reserve is only like 20% of the total rune supply. So in theory, if it did have an impact on the price, the rune price would only go up like 20%. Like, it wouldn't really have that much of an impact. And then on burning revenue, the buy pressure on rune that drives up the price is already happening when the revenue is generated. If you then go burn those tokens, there's no additional buy pressure. You're just removing those tokens out of supply and preventing them from being sold in the future. So I do like the idea of a burn, and I do like the idea of the deflationary supply, but it's like it's going to have a more medium to long term effect on the price. It's not going to have any immediate short term effect. So if we reduce the circulating supply from 350 million down to 300 million over the next several years, that's great. That's 50 million rune taken away. That's not, the rune price will definitely trade higher, but it'll take time. So I'm not in my mind, that revenue could probably be used for other purposes right now, as opposed to, like, 5% burn is great, for the narrative, but I don't know about going to 50%. I think we can use that yield for other things that have more immediate impact on the price.
Yeah, I see your point. I agree with that. I was looking at more from the perspective of decreasing the total capacity, and then people saying like, oh, the price would go up temporarily, and I would think, well, yeah, it will go up temporarily. That's going to give kind of a false belief that, like, oh, Rune is doing something, THORChain is doing something, and I think it would only be temporary. I think what people want to see is a slow, steady chart that increases over time, and that's hard to do right now with the negative, admittedly, with the negative sentiment that we have, particularly from the THORFi debacle.
Right.
So right now, I just kind of want us to get out of that, and then let Ruggira explode, and then see what happens from there, because that's going to open up all kinds of really cool avenues. The app layer stuff is incredible, but that gets off the topic of this X Spaces.
Well, but let's bring it back. I'm trying. I think we've all been pretty honest about being bearish. Let me be bullish. Let me put on the promoter hat now. So with app layer, Ruggira, all these other, like, we get perps trading, like perpetual derivatives trading in regular finance and crypto. It's like 10 to 100 times larger than spot trading. And right, THORChain only right now just does spot trading. If we can do derivatives properly, safely on THORChain, the volume is going to go through the roof, and that volume is fees coming to THORChain. And what's great about THORChain is that the fees are paid in Rune, right? A user, when they're placing any way they're interacting with THORChain, they got to pay a fee, right? Pay the price. Well, they have to pay in Rune. They don't have to have a Rune address or Rune in their wallet to pay the fee. Like when like in ETH, in Ethereum, when you're doing a transaction, you always have to have some ETH left over to pay your gas fee, right? You don't have to have that on THORChain. When somebody's using THORChain, it's taken out of their trade. And so if you're doing something in Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's just automatically taken out of a portion of that Bitcoin. And it's buying Rune in the background to then deliver to THORChain to pay the fee. And so that's instant buy pressure on Rune. And like last year, we had $30 million or $31 million of real buy pressure on Rune. Right now, this year, if you annualize this year, we're at we should have like 56 million. I know the events from February and January are outliers, but it does make sense for us to have at least 50 or 60 million in volume this year based on our growth rate the last few years. And then you add in app layer with all these, with perps and all these different other things, maybe we can get to 100 million in fees, 100 million in revenue alone. That's $100 million of buy pressure on Rune. Rune's market cap is 400 something. So that's basically 1 in 4 Rune are being bought in fees. Like, that is going to drive up the price. It's just time. Just have to wait for it. So for me, that's what keeps me bullish and keeps me going, is that we just keep delivering on adding features, adding new ways, people to trade, people to swap, keeping the revenue going up. It is going to drive up the Rune price. It is inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just add to what Kenton is saying, is I think there are so many things to be bullish about, right? And I was definitely listening very closely when Heimdall or Nordic Knight was talking about the bear case and the potential downside. But for me, I do believe that THORChain is a 0-to-1 innovation, right? I think it's an incredible product. And I think it's just simply a case of stepping through the delivery of all these amazing features that are literally on the cusp of being delivered. We just need to step through that slowly, carefully, and if we land those, I just see Rune exploding and going back to, in my opinion, its rightful place. And that's what caused me to double down and become more involved in the protocol. And not only that is, just things like the space, right? Hearing Kenton, Patriot, people who are also concerned about the narrative, right? Nordic Knight mentioned the narrative, Koitsu mentioned the narrative. I think it's really awesome to hear as well, because I think for a long time, the stance of THORChain was, we'll just deliver amazing tech and that will be enough. And it also really, heartens me to hear that, we are considering what the perspective is in the community, in the crypto space as well, which I think is really important for us for long-term growth.
Boone has his hand up.
Yes. And real quick, Boone, I just want to say, guys, please share the space. If you're listening to this recording or live, does not matter. Share the space. It's very important conversations happening up here. We need to maximize the amount of people that hear this because we have perceptions to change. In order to do that, people have to hear the damn thing. So please share the space. Boone, go right ahead.
I wanted to, this might be a bit of a tangent, but something that Koitsu brought up and Slambammer was talking about it as well. But I haven't really heard too much in the community as far as Ruggiero goes, talking about various use case, like various platforms, like Perps, I think is great, but like an AMM, or not, sorry, not an AMM, a money market like Aave, and then basically, I'm going to call it asset efficiency, is in terms of how much yield is a given use case of a secured asset earning for both Ruggiero and then THORChain. And so, like, if you just pull up Aave, wrapped BTC, if you supply it, you're earning 3 bips of yield. And it has $3.4 billion of wrapped BTC supplied. And so if THORChain is getting paid half of that, then it is an incredibly inefficient use of the security budget if you're earning 1.5 bips of yield. But trade assets, as a contra example, are very active and efficient and earn a lot of yield per unit of security budget used up. And I think even if we relax the cap to say 1-to-1 ratio, that something like a money market could easily absorb whatever the cap is. And so I would just like to see a conversation arise around the various use cases of Ruggiero, like order versus perps versus a money market versus liquidation engine, whatever, and how I forget, like the velocity of money of those assets are. And perhaps while we're under tighter budgetary concerns, that we prioritize the high velocity use of assets over low velocity ones like a money market.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a concern. And one thing I don't fully understand, and maybe someone can correct me here, is I don't understand how the incentive pendulum is supposed to function, in a way that helps the LPs if it's constantly at the cap. I think we need to revisit that. Okay, Conrad, I know you have your hand up, but 13 Heavens came up, and I don't think he's spoken yet. So I'm going to give 13 Heavens the ability to speak, and then Conrad, you're next. And then, guys, since we have 12 speakers now, if you want to speak, please raise your hand, and we're going to go in order here the best we can. Okay, go ahead, 13 Heavens.
Sorry, before 13 Heavens say anything. So I just want to say good night to everybody and have a good day. I'm going to drop now. Sorry.
Thank you, dear. Thank you for always.
Thanks, Jane. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thanks again, Jane.
Hey guys, love seeing these spaces more often. They're really fun to participate in and to listen to. Yeah, THORChain's going through a bit of a rough time right now. I see that. There's a lot of focus on price, which makes a lot of sense. It ties into the security budget. It ties into the sentiment. It ties really into everything. And I just wanted to bring attention to Rune being this or THORChain being this like huge web of projects that really are all THORChain. Like Multisig's a great example. Maya Protocol is another. I think there should be more of a focus on because like THORChain, unfortunately, Rune the asset has a bit of a black eye right now. Supporting Rune is very, very important, but the tides rising will rise all ships, including the Rune asset. So I wanted to advocate for supporting the ecosystem a bit more. If you see fantastic charts and price breakouts on Multisig or on Cacao or on any of the other ecosystem tokens, I do think that'll feed back into the positive sentiment and the momentum of THORChain itself. And then another thing I wanted to bring attention to was helping to reduce the impact and power of centralized exchanges like Binance. I think I mentioned this in a previous space. I would love to see a future where arbitrageurs mainly trade Rune against other Thor likes, like eventually maybe Chainflip if they add Rune or Maya Protocol or Siri Dex or whatever comes next. I think a lot of the attention or a lot of our efforts should go towards reducing the dominance of sexes, which is by supporting ecosystem projects as well as supporting ecosystem projects in that it'll help wash away the negative sentiment and bad taste towards THORChain. Because Rune is kind of a hard asset to pump right now for a lot of reasons. We have a black guy as far as I don't want to call them exploits, but the exploits that have happened. So like that's kind of difficult. But if you see like Multisig's a great example. If you see Multisig do really well, it'll bring in a lot of new eyes towards the ecosystem. And like you might think, well, that'll only help Multisig. But realistically, once you get into that asset, once you realize this is a good asset, I like it, I like the fundamentals of it, Multisig's a very cool token, a cashback token, it then leads you to the next thing, which is most likely Rune and THORChain. So I think by helping ecosystem projects really catch traction and really gain positive sentiment, that'll have a trickle-down effect to THORChain and Rune and will help wash away the negative taste in people's mouths. So I just think there should be a bit of a focus on that.
That's a great idea. I agree. I want to kind of add to it too. Like there's a lot more going on than just the problems with THORChain. Like crypto in general is down. Everything is down. Like normally, when the markets are down, Rune will be around number 80 market cap on coinmarketcap.com. And so if we were back at that same ranking, the Rune price would be $2. So like, I think a lot of our down move over the last few months has been market related, even though on top of our minds is THORFi and everything, the default. But I think it's much more attributed to the market being down. Everything is down. Everything's beat up right now. So it's not just unique to THORChain. All projects are feeling it.
Yeah, 100%. Just unfortunately, THORChain has a little bit of a baggage, which kind of added a multiplier to that down move.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the point of these spaces and the point of everything is to undo that the best we can. You won't get rid of it anytime soon, but this is the beginning step, guys. And that's why, again, I want to make a call out. People turning late. We have Slambammer up here, a new node, thanks to Runetard helping making new nodes. He stepped up. Slambammer, if anyone is a BP here, please bond your Rune with Slambammer. Let's get him churned in. Let's diversify the network to make it as hardy and resilient as possible. Again, guys, share the space. This is great stuff. Conrad, you have your hand up. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I just wanted to be more positive. I know this is about price. And I feel like if people are looking for like the 7Xs and stuff, then they can go trade meme coins. But I feel like most people probably in here are actually thinking like, oh, what is something that can actually make a difference? And I feel like, THORChain can actually do that, which is why I don't mind that, we're taking a beating and getting like, battle tested as we try to actually do something. But I do have some comments. I know somebody was talking about like, burns. And I feel like in a place where, why would we burn something? It seems like it would make more sense to have that turn into actual truly benevolent nodes where it kind of has the same effect of like this is not something that will ever be used, but it is something that can potentially secure the system using smart contracts and whatnot. Because eventually, people like Kenton may want to leave, and so what replaces it? And I don't know if I like the idea of like, market to more people, get more people, and so then Kenton leaves, and then we have this other. It's like it'd be cool if you had something truly benevolent that's just, trustless, that nobody, can touch, that actually secures the system. Um, and then yeah, just keeping everybody still focused on the task at hand, less so much the price.
I don't think that can ever exist. I don't think you can ever make something so benevolent that can work in a way that fully abstracts risk. I understand what you're saying. We can optimize things for sure and improve them and make them more intuitive. But I'm glad you brought that up actually, because someone had a comment. Max said in a comment, like, they were disagreeing with me. I don't think they quite understood what I was saying about, forming a relationship with your node operator and that you can fully trust them. That's not what I was saying, especially when it comes to UI. Talking with your node operator is the very beginning, but on the UI, if we could have other metrics that are objective, like past performance, that could also be used as a means to determine a node operator on the interface, that would be good. So there's so many things we can improve, guys, on this protocol. And that's what we need to do. We need to focus on making THORChain just that much better. Go ahead, 13 Heavens.
Yeah, 2 points. One, as far as burning the reserve, I don't love that idea. I know in the early days of THORChain, we had some exploits during ChaosNet, which wasn't a big deal. That was what it was for. But I do think one day Rune will have a much stronger price premium to it. It'll be a much stronger asset. And when that day comes, I do think the reserve is there to either accelerate growth or to bail us out of an hopefully small exploits or error here or there. So I do think keeping that reserve where it is like a very good thing. It's not circulating, it's not hurting the price, and I really don't think a burn would do anything. And then second, I think I brought this up to JP a while back, and I'm sure other people have as well. Rajira is going to be launching soon.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
I kind of love the idea of making Rajira a bondable asset, right? THORChain has a bit of a black eye right now. We could see a very nice price premium on Rajira one day, especially if it gets a lot of traction. I think it's just as valid of an asset as Rune, and it could be used to raise the bonds and raise the security budget quite a bit. If Rajira attains a market cap similar to Rune right now, that opens up another $300-400 million that could potentially be used to secure the network. So I don't think I've heard anyone mention that on one of these spaces so far. And I will keep bugging JP about it. But I do like the idea of having Rajira used to secure THORChain as well, because once it's tied in, or like once it's tied into all the liquidity pools, in my opinion anyways, I think it's just as valid.
I think that's a good idea. Like I've been saying CCY, we should be able to bond it. And like, so the arguments against doing that is that like Rajira, TCY, any other token is going to trade independently of the pools. So basically, you could have situations where, say, Rajira and TCY go down in price, and that reduces the bond, and then we get back to undersecured, right? And in my mind, I'm like, well, rather than fart around with just removing the hard caps, let's at least make an attempt, right? Have TCY, have Rajira, have those other tokens that they should be correlated. I would assume they're going to be highly correlated to the room price. At least use those for security. And if the external assets, sorry, if the dollar value of the bonded security does drop below the value of the external assets, I don't think there's any reason to panic or worry about that. Like that, I get this is going to happen in normal market forces. I think the bigger issue is just kind of opening it wide open and letting it get really out of hand. So I like that idea. I think it's interesting.
Just very
briefly.
To
take it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say very briefly, we'd need to consider carefully how that's done. Just, if we say that something like TCY or Rajira had additional benefits other than being able to secure the network, they might become a preferential token to Rune, and then we'd see Rune price collapse in favor of people securing the network with another token. So there's quite a few things to consider there.
I was thinking the same thing. If you were to use the Regira in as a bond, would it make sense only to make that bonded security on the Regira side support Regira assets? I don't think it would make sense to have the Regira bond be able to, to be measured like LP units or something. I don't know. There's a lot of angles there. It's an interesting idea. I gotta think about it more. We have two speakers.
Maybe that's how you scale secured assets. If there are assets being used in Regira, maybe it's Regira tokens that bond them. Something like that. I don't know.
I also really like the idea of using secured assets as a bond, even like maybe just a select few, Bitcoin and stablecoin. But if we're talking about just securing Regira network, but I think this is valid towards the THORChain network as well. I know some people are worried it might hurt Rune price. I don't believe it will, but there's a lot to say about how much people trust UST, USDC, and Bitcoin. So, like even potentially bonding a secured asset or trade asset. I know they're functionally very similar.
I had that exact idea, and I discussed it with Alex briefly. I think the view there is that the bonding to nodes is meant to keep them honest, right? And in the sense of if you are bonding, and the idea is if you bond an asset to a node that is immediately exogenous, that weakens the security rather than strengthens it.
How would the fee structure work if you are bonding assets on the Regira side and there's swap volume on THORChain? How does it correlate? Like, are you capturing just the 50% side on the Regira side? Like, I'm trying to figure out how this works.
You could do it either way, but I don't know how everyone here feels about this, but I do think THORChain was always meant to disappear into the background. It was always meant to be a piece of infrastructure that you didn't even know was there. And it wasn't like that to begin with, because like obviously it was front and center, but later on, I don't think that's going to be the case, especially with the app layer coming out. And like I can imagine a future where 90%, pretty much almost all of the THORChain trading volume is going through app layer, and base layer is mostly there to provide the liquidity and for arbitrageurs to kind of do their thing. So in my view, one day, app layer will host the majority of the volume, and that's not a bad thing, since half the fees, or maybe we can restructure it later, but at least half the fees are going to the THORChain base layer.
Yeah, interesting. It's a really interesting idea. I'm gonna have to think about that more. We have two speakers. I don't think they've spoken yet, and I apologize if I'm wrong. We had Eric who joined. I think THORMAX hasn't had a chance to say anything. So THORMAX, I'm gonna start with you. Go ahead and fire off.
Hey, yeah, just wanted to bring up a point that hasn't been discussed yet and seems like it would be very relevant to price, although perhaps it's not. The fact that we've ended emissions coming from THORFi and also, cut the emissions that were, diluting the price as far as block rewards and whatnot, it seems like that change in the tokenomics, in a sense, makes Rune a new coin, and that a lot of the old chart data may not be as relevant now. And you would think, I expected that this would, slowly bump up the price, and it hasn't yet. So, I don't have any real data as to why that, wouldn't necessarily push the price up. But I'm wondering if anybody that analyzes this stuff in more depth than I ever think about it has some insight onto the effects of cutting that dilution out and what we ought to be seeing. Is there a certain overburden out there that we need to burn through first? Or is it really just on the order of magnitude a relatively irrelevant move?
I think it's just like eating healthy. Like if you're overweight and say you're 100 pounds overweight and you want to lose it, it's going to happen in a month. It's going to take, if you do it properly and healthily, it's going to take a couple of years probably. So just like the dilution from the block rewards, like I think it was weighing on the price about 20% a year. We just ended them 6 weeks ago. So give it a year or two, and it might only help bump the price up 10 or 20% each year. Right? It's not going to be a huge noticeable effect. It's a cumulative longer term effect.
Agreed. And I would also just say that is a question of, we've made a whole bunch of really amazing changes, and that's why I'm more bullish than, basically Nordic Knight's bear case. We have made a whole bunch of amazing changes, but it takes time for the sentiment to shift, and that's why I'm all for carefully stepping through delivery of all these incredible features that will definitely shift the sentiment, but we just need to nail the execution.
I agree. And Shapeshift Intern, I'm sorry, you didn't speak either. We'll go after you after Eric. Okay. This is a great point you brought up, Thormax. I'd be interested in the Nordic Knight's opinion on that, but I'm going to go ahead and give Eric a chance to speak. Or no, go ahead, Nordic Knight, if you want to raise your hand, and then Eric will go to you.
Yeah, but my opinion on that, that's of course the sentiment has to change. But the thing is, like, what most people, especially I guess THORChads who are not particularly traders and stuff, are overlooking is that charts are being watched by a lot of people with a lot of money. And once you break a certain structure, right, it performs a certain weakness. And the moment that weakness is there, then they will maybe actively or even not actively, like, set their bots in to kill a chart. Really, that's just all there is to it. If you load up a couple of million on Binance and say, okay, this bot is going to trade against THORChain because the chart looks like crap, then that capital is just trading against you. And I think there's quite a lot of them that are actually doing that. And what you see, I'm not sure how you guys are versed with EMAs and Fibonacci's and stuff like that, but you can easily set up a bot with a couple of $100,000 that just trades off the EMA. And you see that very actively in the chart, that the bots, like the people trading against you, are just overwhelming the chart because there's no real buy pressure coming from the small people, the small community that we are. We need to fight that, right? And as long as we don't do that, these automated trader bots just wreck you even more. And that's the reason why you don't see anything there.
Nordic Knight, do you think if people get their rune off of Binance, that will reduce the short sellers' supply? So if people want to support the rune price, get your rune off Binance.
In my opinion, rune should have never been on Binance. It should have been done like cacao. It should have just been all bonded, and the trading coin should have been Maya. But that's 2020 hindsight, I suppose, and not really a lot that you can do about it. But Binance has such a big bag for a sex that it people who want to do this, they have near infinite ammunition to do so.
Kenton, this might be another campaign we can do here about getting rune off centralized exchanges. I think there's an angle there.
Yeah, and this happened in TradFi too. People don't understand that having their stocks sitting in a margin account is, even though they're not shorting the stock themselves, they're making it available for people to borrow to go short and drive the price down. And so there's campaigns in TradFi for people to close their margin accounts and just hold their stocks outside of them to prevent their shares from being borrowed to be sold short. So it's the same thing. You have your rune sitting in Binance. These short sellers could be borrowing it to drive the price down on you. So again, if you're actively trading rune, fine, I get it. But if you're just sitting there holding rune for a couple of years, get it off Binance. And this is the whole point of Thor. This is what I find funny, actually. If you own rune, you should understand that the whole point of THORChain is to fight centralized exchanges, right? So that you can have self-custody and avoid all those risks with centralized exchanges, like getting your account frozen, not being able to withdraw. Get your rune into self-custody. Safer for you. You're benefiting the network. You're preventing it from being lent out to short sellers. And get your rune off Binance.
I've often sort of had this fantasy of, playing out a mental future where we would do a kill switch on any rune that isn't in the network, sort of like we did with the BEP20 rune. It's like, obviously that would have downside effects or create massive sell pressure for people that didn't want to put anything in the network. But I'm very curious to know what a THORChain without Binance rune would look like.
Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Kenton. Thanks for having me, guys. I've been part of THORChain since late 2021. I'm not an OG, but I have been following a lot. I'm involved in the ecosystem actively for around 2.5 years. And, one thing that I would like to raise for everyone listening is that, so THORChain, the cross-chain ecosystem, we used to have this strong culture and this weight on how people perceived what THORChain was doing, what THORChain spearheaded, and then Maya, Chainflip, right? All of these players are pushing as well. And I would just like to ask people who have more influence in the space, in the cross-chain space. Now that we flushed out everyone who doesn't want to be part of THORChain anymore, and yes, we saw the price action, of course. The people who are here are the ones that are fully convinced that we do have a future as the cross-chain space, entails. So what I just want to say is maybe we should try to work a little bit on the perception to the outside and how potential new players and new holders see THORChain, because right now I don't see all of the problems, the economic and tokenomic side of problems are basically solved. But how do we turn all of the people who are outside of the THORChain, the cross-chain ecosystem, how do we make them understand what THORChain stands for? Because right now I see a lot of people, like the people who have a voice in our space, in our little space, in our corner of crypto, speaking to the existing members or holders. I don't see a lot of hard shields, so to speak, to people outside. And the ones who are like the posts who go viral and the people who will go viral, there's a perception there that THORChain enables things that we are not. We should focus on what THORChain does and Maya, Chainflip, etc. What we do for the space and not what we are not. And stop fighting all of the FUD, because there's a lot of money involved. And I know for a fact that there's many people who want to see THORChain fail because they have other interests in the space. So for those who have a voice, maybe we should start pivoting into getting new members in the community. Not like I think that the issues where we had an exodus are over, but I don't see the pivot to bringing new players to the THORChain space, and maybe that's where we're lacking.
So, 2 or 3 spaces ago, I forget who brought it up, but someone talked about how they expressed a strong interest in trying to market more of THORChain, to kind of bring it more to the masses so that they know like what's offered. I forget the fellow's name that brought it up, but I distinctly remember that being discussed.
It was me.
It's Kenton, yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, not just you, Kenton. There was another guy that came in later. I don't remember his name, but saying essentially the same thing.
Well, so I agree with the sentiment. Like, we're gonna basically almost like rebrand THORChain in a sense. Maybe get change the narrative. Get positive, get new eyes, new people. I agree with all that. But in my opinion, the best way to do that is getting the room price up. That changes. The room price will change. That's ultimately what will change people's perception. So how do we do that? We need users. So the marketing that I want to focus on and try and get done is get new users, get volume on THORChain, because I think it's much easier to convince somebody to open their Trust wallet or Ledger and go place a Bitcoin swap than it is to explain THORChain, justify all the problems we had, why they're not problems anymore, and why they should buy Rune. That is a much harder sell than somebody opening Ledger Live and placing a swap. And so not only is it easier, so if it's an easier sell, it means we'll have more success. We get those users up, that volume up, that drives up the rune price. Then we can take the strength in the rune price, the strength and the growth of users, the strength and the growth of volume, and we can take that to our new audience. Say, hey, listen, this is what THORChain is doing. THORChain is delivering. This is happening. Yeah, we've had problems. They're in the past, but we're getting past them, and we have real data to show you, real results. And look at this trend, this growth, whatever, project that into the future, and you should buy Rune. So, because if we do it the other way, we go get this new investors, this new audience, everybody excited about THORChain, and our volumes are sideways, the user growth is sideways, then nothing is growing, like the metrics aren't changing. Those people will leave. They'll get tired. Maybe they'll stick around for a year or two, but they won't see any results. They won't see anything happening, and they'll just go. And so all that effort, all that energy to get them in will be for nothing. Whereas we spend that energy and effort on getting new users, they should be users for life. In my opinion, if you trade on THORChain once, you know about it, you understand it, it should automatically click while you're using it versus using a SEX, and they'll place more than one trade. So in my mind, that's what we need to focus on, getting those new users. And so how do we do that? This is my opinion. I don't think Trust Wallet and Ledger and the rest, they're doing a good job at all of telling their users to swap Bitcoin inside their wallet. Like, they have this new feature, but nobody knows it exists, and no one's doing it. So for me, this has been what I've been most wrong about THORChain is the growth in users. Like, we're stuck at like tens of thousands of users per month. We should have 1 million users per month by now, based on all the wallets we're integrated in. In my opinion, that's our biggest problem, our biggest disconnect. We got to figure that out. We got to solve that. Why aren't there more of these users trading on THORChain? Because if we can't solve that, all these features and all this everything is really for nothing. We're building them for no audience. We got to get that audience engaged.
I agree. This is a great point, guys, and that's something I'm really interested in doing. Real quick, guys, please share the space, whether you're listening live or the recording. Let's get some more people to hear this conversation. Boone's had his hand up for a while. We're going to go to Shapeshift first because he hadn't spoken yet, and then go to the Boone, and then let's try to respect the hand thing. Or maybe if it doesn't work, we can go to a free flow conversation. But go ahead, Shapeshift.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm rugged, so I'd rather actually defer to Boone. I'm going to take a lap. I did make a couple of written questions. I want to draw off of Kenton's metals experience and see if there's any applicable wisdom to share there. And I think educational outreach and building the community via Trust Wallet, via Ledger, via Phantom is the move, perhaps. And I'd like to actually touch base on a few different things. One being the paper markets. We need to remember fundamentally that the BEP rune was because Binance actually enabled THORChain to be incubated, and that's a crux between Binance enabling our developers to dev, and we're lucky enough to have a node operator here, which it doesn't matter what the devs do if the node operators don't vote something that the devs developed to be implemented. So thank you, Kenton, for all your efforts, and I think in the age of information, we should share information. I'm going to take a lap and defer to Boone. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that, buddy. I just want to let you know that was well said, but your mic is having issues, so maybe try switch mics or work on that. But thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shapeshift.
Go ahead, Boone. It's all on you, buddy.
Sure. The conversation has moved on a little bit, but I want to.
No worries.
Yeah, we had when you guys were talking about Binance. I mean, we like the whole design of THORChain requires external markets, though, right? I mean, to ARB, like we need a way for ARBs to be able to close the loop. So I think there's some amount of, and I like what 13 Heavens brought up is like, yeah, in a perfect world, that loop could be closed with Maya, and then the ARBs can just stay in the DEX space. But like until the liquidity is deep enough for that to happen, we do need external markets for the ARBs to do their thing to keep THORChain price on point. So I think that is, just needs to be acknowledged. And then,
well, can I actually, Boone? No, we only need external markets for Bitcoin and Ethereum prices. For Rune, it could just be priced on THORChain. We don't need an external market. It'll be by having Bitcoin and Ethereum prices, that gives Rune a price, a value. So and that's exactly how Cacao works, right? THORChain, right? 13 Heavens.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Okay.
No, it does work exactly like that. Cacao
sorry.
doesn't have a third marketplace or a secondary marketplace, which is actually probably why we're seeing quite a bit of stability. Like I know all assets have been hurt quite a bit, but originally the THORChain rune pool in Maya was so massive that when THORChain went up or went down, it caused like a knockdown effect on the Cacao price quite a bit. And more recently, the rune pool has become I think the second biggest pool, the third biggest pool right now. So when rune goes up, Cacao doesn't go up as much. When it goes down, it doesn't go down as much. But we've actually seen a pretty decent inflow. So like the Cacao price has been performing pretty well. But yeah, no, we don't necessarily need a third or a second Rune marketplace. The only time that really helps is if someone wants to enter Rune in size. But even then, you can use the various THORChain pools to ARB against that trade. So realistically, no, you don't need a third party place to trade Rune. It can just help in some cases if you really, really want to enter in size. But I do think, I don't want to call it the enemy, but I do think the biggest anchor on Rune, besides like the negative sentiment right now, is Binance. Like I love Binance, but between all of the professional traders trading Rune as a speculative vehicle and having no intrinsic skin in the game, it causes this ripple effect that really harshes Rune's movements in both directions.
Okay, yeah, thank you to both of you guys for that correction. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I did not have a proper mental model of how ARBs work. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then the other point I wanted to this is what Thormax brought up about how the changing structure of like Rune tokenomics. You can kind of look at the Bybit hack as like a nice little case study because so much volume went through in such a short amount of time. Like over the course of those 4 days or whatever it was, the Rune price went from like 120 to 160. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the direct buy pressure. I saw someone say it was about like, $5.5 million in fees were collected by THORChain itself. And so that's, $5.5 million in buy pressure on Rune. And then of course we had some large wallets dumping, so that price gain got squashed. But I think it was a great case study of how volume directly impacts price, especially absent of the block rewards. And so yeah, those were the two things I wanted to raise.
Boone, can maybe we can rephrase that? It is an unfortunate case study to prove that we don't want those kind of funds. We don't support that. No, yeah, none of us are. I know you're not.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
We just want to make it clear for everybody listening, right? We don't want that kind of volume from those kind of actors on THORChain. But it's going to happen again, right? We can't stop it. Which actually opens up a whole new conversation we've talked about in the past, but yeah, we're not trying to solicit that kind of volume.
And if you guys know, this community has already developed the solution to funds being exploited with multi-sig and other like technologies. So we're trying to make things better. But Kenton, Justin, we have a new speaker here. I'm gonna get you in a second. But Kenton, I think I really like what Boone said there, though, because I think this perfectly illustrates that your idea of increasing, and this is a simple idea, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. Your idea of increasing the amount of people on the interfaces like Trust Wallet, Ledger, and such, to just increase their own users to use it, that is the solution. We just need more swap volume. I mean, imagine that. Such a simple and novel explanation, such a solution to do, right? So, guys, I really want people to rally behind what Kenton is saying here, because it's just a simple and clear narrative. It makes complete sense. We really should galvanize Trust Wallet, Ledger, and other interfaces to just get more users. I mean, if I'm Trust Wallet and only, like, what was it, Kenton? Such a tiny percentage of the people are using their own interface to swap. And the amount of fees they've generated from that is alone, I mean, the parabolic growth that Trust Wallet by itself could enjoy from just trying to get its own users to swap, I mean, is truly phenomenal.
Let me just check quick. So Trust Wallet says they have 200 million downloads, right? And I'm equating that to 200 million people. I get it. One person can have multiple downloads. We'll just keep it simple. There's only been 500,000 of those wallets have used THORChain. So what's 500,000 divided by 200 million is times 100, 0.25%. So, like, you know, in my opinion, that should be more like 1 or 2 or 3%. Like, it should be. I'm not all 100% those users are gonna do it, but gosh, at least a few percent, like not a quarter.
Right.
So there's a huge disconnect there. There's something wrong. There's something going on. Maybe those 200 million, that 200 million number is fake. Maybe Trust Wallet is lying. I don't know. Like, maybe it is a few million people who've downloaded it 20 times each. I don't know. Like, but I no one accused Trust Wallet of lying, and I don't think it's one person. Each user is downloading the wallet 20 times each. There's got to be, that number is probably between 100 million and 200 million, you know, of actual people, right? So we got to break that.
Right. I mean, if you just look at their X profile, I don't see, I mean, they talk about us occasionally, which is awesome, and I'm so thankful for that, but I don't see them push it as much. And so I think your instinct is correct. I think there's a lot of people who are just simply don't know that it's there. And if you had a 2 to 3% usage, I mean, that's a 10x right there, which seems very, very, very doable in my mind. Justin, you've joined the stage.
Yeah, I would say 2 to 3% usage is very doable, very realistic. And I wanted to get on the stage to sort of rally behind what Kenton was saying about when we're talking about Rune price, it's about these partnerships with Trust Wallet and the others. You know, these wallets have been building users for years and years, and they benefit every time someone uses, because they can program in what commission they want to take, and then this is the way forward, because we can use videos, we can use memes, and it's all about timing, it's all about marketing, and it's about spreading the word of, like, you can use the wallet's interface to swap natively, and this will give you the lowest slippage. And it's exciting to have such a clear and achievable goal forward, and that's why I wanted to get on the stage, just to say
I like
that.
that idea. Okay, so we have everyone's attention here. People are going to listen to this recording. Is there someone out there with some video editing skills? I can do a little video editing, but I'm abysmal compared to most people. I mean, we should really I think we should all just pool our talents here. Let's get some people together. Some people are good at speaking. Some people are good at video editing. Some people are good at technical analysis, right? There's a lot of different skill sets here. I think we should get together and really just start pushing content and just doing things, right? Like we said, I don't get paid to do this. I'm just a regular human being just doing it because I believe in it and I really want to succeed. But there is so much potential here, guys. I mean, if we want THORChain to go, if you want it to be 3-figure asset or even higher than that, let's fucking go. Let's do it. Like, what are we waiting for? You know what I mean? I believe in efficiency between thought and action. If you have an idea, just do it. It can't hurt, right? Like, if you think you can do something, just start right now, or make a plan to start right away. Let's just put our ideas to test, because I don't want to do spaces where we just talk about doing things and how cool and good and awesome. Like, let's actually do them. Let's do them. Like, we're doing this right now. Like, we're raising the bond campaign, wildly successful, hugely successful. let's I don't know what you would call it, a campaign interfaces, use your users. I don't know what you'd say, but let's do this, guys. Let's do this. Go ahead, Eric, your hands up.
Yeah, here's a thought. So you have the rails and you have the technology, and yes, it's great to market the technology, but in the end, marketing something so abstract might be complicated because people will not resonate as much as marketing a product. But as well as marketing THORChain as the rails to bring in users, if you see any app that it's built on THORChain or an interface that brings value to the ecosystem, a little bit indirect, and you see them doing marketing, jump in, drop a comment, drop a repost, join their spaces, whatever, because in the end, it's going to be easy if we coordinate to market THORChain, but it's going to be 10x easier to bring in users and volume through apps rather than the rails or the technology, because again, marketing such an abstract thing as cross-chain swaps, it's going to be hard. Other than, let's just say, imagine that someone comes up with a game that uses THORChain in the backend, it's going to be so much easier to market that. So if you see any dApps that are promoting THORChain indirectly through their interface, also jump in on that, because I do believe that that's going to be the future for THORChain. Maybe not pushing the tech, but pushing the products that use the tech.
Yeah, and I've been guilty of this myself in the past, where we'll see something on Twitter where, I don't know, somebody's placing a swap and it gets held up or is an issue, and all the THORChads jump in, use THORChain, use THORChain, use THORChain. Well, we should be saying use Trust Wallet, use Ledger, use THORSwap, use Thor Wallet, use AsgardX. We should be, whatever your favorite wallet front end is, tell people to use that. And right, because then indirectly they're using THORChain. If you just tell people to use THORChain, I'm like, well, where do I start? What, THORChain.com? Then what? You really got to go through, jump over a lot of hurdles to figure out how to use it. Whereas if you just send them right to the front end, you're eliminating all that headache. And cool with THORSwap, you can have a referral link with them. Same with Thor Wallet, you can have a referral link. So if you tell somebody to use on your link, you get a kickback on their swap fees. So yeah, we shouldn't be promoting THORChain per se. We should be promoting the front end we want people to use.
I completely agree, guys. Okay, guys. We've talked a lot for a while. I think we're going on 2.5 hours, so this is great. I still have energy to continue, Kenton. I don't know about you. Is there anything, if anyone else wants to come up and speak? We got a request here. Okay, I got Shapeshift. Guys, this is an open forum. We're here to talk about, the price, speculation, what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel bad because Nordic Knight left, and I'm like, man, we didn't. I feel like we didn't talk about price that much. I know. We kept getting sidetracked because I wanted to hear some more from him. But yeah, it is open forum. We can talk about whatever you want, guys. We were trying to talk about price, but I think we got. Do you think we did price a good enough justice there, Patriot? Or do you think we can talk more about it somehow?
Well, I think one thing. So we talked about price, and Nordic Knight did have where he talked about what the potential is going to be. He gave a bear case, right? But then we address what are the elements that we could do to change this outlook, because all of us here are willing participants of something. I mean, the thing, to give a little anecdote about myself, I did pretty well in the stock market because I invested in Tesla, and, I had a dividend stock portfolio and stuff like that, right? The reason why things are value is the outlook. It's been years, but Walmart or whatever, they can give a dividend and you're getting I don't know, 1% sometimes yield yearly, right, on a dividend stock portfolio. But people buy that stock because it makes them comfortable, and they know that Walmart is probably going to be around for a long time, especially since now we're post the Amazon scare, right? The sentiment of THORChain has a market valuation that I don't know, right? And the thing that I really want to hit home is that we have to take a slice of humble pie here. We've made mistakes, but we were open that we were going to be innovative and try new things. But we have to really eat our humble pie and know that we have to start from basics again and rebuild our brand and rebuild our vision, and to bring new people in, and hopefully to get some people that were THORChads that are now jaded and not in our system. And I think to Nordic Knight's point, that's what we got to do. And then I want Nordic Knight to come up. We can do this space again about price. He gives a
I noticed he just jumped back in. Nordic Knight, I invited you to speak. I felt bad that we kind of cut you off, and I don't think we truly got to let you finish your thoughts. If you want to come up and speak again, great. Love to hear everything else you had to say. But there is something I wanted to add about price. So I'm not trying to, how do I say this? I'm trying to talk constructively and not lament on the past. But basically to help understand why THORFi kept the room price down. So, and I can prove it. So everyone in crypto understands the difference between market cap and fully diluted value, right? If you get a market cap of a token is 100 million, but it could have a fully diluted value of $1 billion. And everybody will value that token based on $1 billion valuation, not 100 million, but $1 billion, right? Because they know those tokens are going to come free trading and they're going to dump on them, right? So people in crypto have learned this the hard way. This has existed in all of finance for thousands of years, but a lot of people new to investing, or a lot of people new to crypto, new to investing, and have had to learn that the hard way. So FDV has become this huge metric that everybody is highly aware and conscious of. Well, there's another concept. It's called enterprise value. And so enterprise value is like the total value, the total price you pay to acquire a company. So with market cap and FDV, you're just looking at the tokens, the equity. If you want to, but all these tokens, all these cryptos had zero debt. So you never had to take into account its debt on the value of the company. But then there's THORChain. We got to do everything different, right? And so one thing we did differently is we had debt through THORFi. And so you have to add that debt on top of the FDV as well to get your total value of the company. And so just to help drive that point home, imagine you buy a restaurant. You buy it for 100 grand. But that restaurant also has $50,000 in debt, that business. Well, your total cost to buy that restaurant is 150 grand, right? You're buying it for 100 grand, but you're also inheriting that 50 grand debt. So to truly own that business outright, you'd have to pony up another 50 grand to cover off and pay the debt to own it 100%. So the true cost to own that restaurant is 150 grand. That's its enterprise value. 100 grand for the equity, 50 grand for the debt equals 150 grand enterprise value. So with THORChain, when we had THORFi, we had let's call it 350 million in circulating tokens, and then 500 million was our max supply, was our FDV. But we have like this debt, this variable debt weighing on top of THORChain. So that, like, it couldn't trade, it kept the weight on the price because of that variable debt. And that variable enterprise value. So, but that's gone now, right? That's not there anymore, right? That was the whole point of defaulting on THORFi and getting rid of the minting rune side of things, is we got rid of that debt. We got rid of that variable debt. So that's no longer there, which makes THORChain essentially cheaper, much cheaper today than it was a year ago. So yeah, I just want to bring that up because I think a lot of people don't understand how much the debt weighs on the price.
It's simpler now as well. Like, there's less calculations you have to make to sort of think about its value, its cheapness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the cognitive burden has gone down tremendously by simplifying Not simplifying necessarily in a good way, but it is what it is. This is where we're at. So I totally agree. The Nordic Knight, you're back up. Welcome. We want to give you another chance if you wanted to say some more, because we did formally invite you up here, and you are one of the lead figures when it comes to discussing price.
Thanks for that. Yeah, sorry, I had some technical issues. I think I was gone like 20 minutes or something. Was there brought up something that you would specifically want to know, or?
No, I just felt bad. We kind of cut you off a bit when you're talking about you're talking about the bear case of Rune and Bitcoin, but then you kind of started, I think, going into the bull case, and I wanted to ask you as well, like I'm a terrible trader. Like I actually do appreciate technical analysis, but every time I try and trade, I lose money, so I don't. But what I do know about trading and TA is that don't you always have two cases? You have the bearish case and the bullish case. Like you always do your own. You probabilistically weight each one. And if I'm right, if that's true, do you have a bullish case on Rune and Bitcoin? How are you probabilistically weighting each one?
Yeah, so like I said, for me it is very simple. Like I look at TA based on probabilities and not certainties. I don't think anybody should do that anyway. I mean, so for me, when I look at a particular chart, I see probabilities, and I see, of course I see the bull case, of course I see the bear case. For me, the bear case at the moment is a little bit more prominent due to what I described as rejection of major moving averages and losing certain key Fibonacci's, and also losing a particularly important trend in this case that we did. So as long as these conditions are not met the other way around, the probability or of a bear case is much, much higher. That's how I see it. So in order for me to start saying, okay, now Rune has started to trend up bullishly again, it would need to at least come above like the last high we had, which was, I think it was 1.682, and then start moving up from there in a at least 5 wave pattern, like Elliott wave, and then come down 3 waves, and then hold the trend line, and then move up from there. For me, that is pretty much the bare minimum that I need to see in order to become, or purely on a TA basis, to see this chart turning around. Yeah, so that would potentially be move up five waves above 1.652. So maybe retest 3 point, let's say like say 3.5, and then move down, retest 2, and then move up from there. Then we have a bull case, purely from a TA perspective. Now, when I heard you guys mentioning the debt and stuff like that. Yes, you could argue that it's gone, but in a lot of them, again, I speak from a trader perspective, and perception of a certain asset is at least as important as a chart. So yes, it might be gone if you swipe it under the rug with TCI and all that. But it's still very much there in the mind of the people, not to mention that the TCI will forever take 10% of the protocol's revenue. So it is some sort of debt, right? You just kick the can down the road a little bit. I'm just being completely honest here.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's not completely restructured. It's still there. It's just not actively dragging down the price, right?
And it's not
active sell pressure.
Yeah, and it's not variable. Like with THORChain theory, if you wanted to be really conservative, you would assume that 100 million Rune can be minted and printed within days. But that's not going to happen with TCY.
No.
So yeah, but you're right. So now looking forward, the total valuation, the enterprise value of THORChain is going to be the market cap of Rune plus the market cap of TCY. Right? That's going to be the total value of THORChain.
Yes, agreed. So I suppose we moved a little bit towards a certain Maya structure here with the Maya and Cacao bit So which is not a bad thing. I mean, not by all means, but like I said, what's really bothering THORChain now from a TA perspective is that it has lost certain lows and certain Fibonacci ranges. And, you know, market makers or people with large bags, they really take advantage of charts like that. I mean, they have a saying, and I've been saying that in the trader channel for a very long time. It's like bulls, they make money, bears, they make money, and pigs, they get slaughtered. And I feel that, you know, the bears are now fully in control and they're making money. I mean, everybody's making money on THORChain. It's just not the way that you want it, right? I mean, if you look at this chart, the shorters have been making bank on it for a very long time. It might be time for them to hand over the stick and to the bulls again and have them have a shot. But from a TA perspective, you know, it doesn't look very good. Let's put it like that. I if I didn't know THORChain as much as I do, and I wasn't so much involved in the community as I am, and I know so many people, and I know what it stands for, I would not have bought it from a purely like chart perspective. That is.
Do you
That's a
think?
really interesting.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Kenton. That's a really interesting point, right? If you look at a chart, if you look, to me, that is hugely powerful. I think the Nordic Knight is absolutely correct here. But the thing you have to understand is when you invest time to understand a project like THORChain, and if there is a real shift here, that's where the opportunity lies, guys. Okay, because the market, people who trade, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Nordic Knight, but they kind of have to be superficial in their understanding of various protocols. There's just so many protocols out there. Right? It's hard to have a deep understanding of the fundamentals and the changes within every single protocol, within every single short, with every single long that you make. You're sort of, when you're looking at a chart, you can use, I think, math and various principles to try to determine what's going to happen. But at a certain point, that is a little superficial in the sense that you're not really seeing the bones, the meat and the potatoes, so to speak, of what's going on. So the thing that I find interesting is the Nordic Knight, I think, has an extremely good ability to understand the wider perception of what people think of THORChain, and to us, that's very useful information, guys. And I think we should use that information to affect the way that we do things, and the way that we communicate, and the way that we behave, and our strategy overall for THORChain. Like what Kenton said earlier about, you know, removing the cap. I think this is like one of the worst things you can say from a perception point of view that we could do. Not necessarily fundamental, forget the fundamentals, just the perception point of view, which has a direct effect upon us. Go ahead, Kenton.
I was just going to ask Nordic Knight, do you think these short sellers, like they're doing this with all tokens, or is it unique to Rune in that they have, because of THORChain's design, it's its own DEX, it's got this huge pool of Rune in the liquidity pools, that the short sellers, they know they can't get squeezed, so they've got this like huge pool they can always buy from the cover, and so that gives them more firepower, so to speak, and they can play games. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I'm just thinking on the fly.
Oh yeah, sure. Like if you look at the funding rate, like I think it was Bybit, it was minus 0.5, and on Binance was minus 0.3, which is normally, it's like 0.5 is extreme. You would never see that unless it's like the complete bottom of a bear market. Otherwise, like, and 0.3 is also not very. So the funding, I'm not sure. Do you know what funding rate is? Let's just.
Well, let's explain that.
Yeah, so funding, if you play with leverage, or you short or you long, you pretty much borrow from the exchange, right? So if you say like you have $1,000 that you want to short with, then for every 8 hours, which is a cycle, the funding rate depends or determines how much interest you pay, right? So if you would now actually go long Rune on Binance for say with let's say $1,000, for every 8-hour cycle that the funding is negative, it means that the shorts are paying the longs, right? So you as a shorter would have to pay 0. Or like 3% interest, right? Or 0.03% interest, and you would get that as you would long, right? So it is not cheap. It is not free to short. That's what I'm to say. It's also not free to long if in a bullet market. But in this case, the shorts are paying the longs, and that could depend normally. That would be a wipe because the short, there's so many shorts that they could be squeezed like a lot, and then you would get like a short squeeze really. So yeah, it is possible, but the problem is, and I repeat that again, there really haven't been any high spike volume buys on Rune, right? So the most positive volume that I see when I analyze the chart is pretty much like, okay, now we've hit a major support, and then you see people closing their shorts, which is pretty much akin to going long because you close your and then you have to buy it back, right? So, but they buy in profit, or they sell in profit because they went short and now they have to give it back. So you see the price go up a little bit like that. There hasn't been any indication that bulls are actually actively buying with large clips, as opposed to where you see that the bears are actually selling with high volume. So the volume profile, what we see here is still quite bearish. And that gives shorters confidence. Like, okay, if these guys themselves are not buying, then it's safe for me to short. I mean, of course, you can rely on a couple of large traders that would like to go against these guys that are shorting Rune, but they would maybe just be momentarily, but they wouldn't be probably changing the major aspect of the chart, because they could probably squeeze it, sure. Like if you get a short squeeze, you could easily bump it up to 1.7 if there's a couple of guys with big bags who want to do that. But going above 1.7, or in this case, or let's say 1.7, would mean that the chart itself would, change character, and that takes a lot of guts to do that if they don't know that people are backing them up. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. They have free reign. There's not a lot of people buying. I think the most of the THORChat whales, and I don't mean this in any disrespect or any negative sense. I think the most of the THORChats and the large THORChain whales, they are uncomfortably long with their own bags already, if you know what I mean. And yes,
we've all
they
bought
want
already.
Yeah, right. So now they're hoping for somebody else. Like I think it was you, Patriot, who said this earlier. Like, who's going to buy our bags? You have the same thing now. Who's going to buy your bag? Like, everybody is so uncomfortably long within the ecosystem right now that at this price, they're starting to feel a little bit overexposed already, maybe. And because there's a potential downside, and that just means that the whales themselves are not actively pushing the price up either, right? And that gives a certain amount of overconfidence, maybe if you want to call it like that, to people who want to short, because they know who's gonna do something against it. Is it
I
big
totally
THORChain whales?
agree
No.
about the about everything you're saying. It's very interesting. I think you're shining a light on some of the pressure on the price, but I just wanted to. I'm new, so I'm probably wrong. So correct me. There are going to be opportunities for people who buy more Rune, or new people who buy more Rune, or anybody who buys more Rune, to provide more liquidity, and that can be very profitable in terms of APY. Especially with the Rune price so close to its minimum price. And then the other thing I was going to say is that people are when the bull market kicks off again, then the fundamental value of Rune is going to go up as well, and that. But I do totally appreciate you shining a light on what's happening in the trading communities and the perps on Binance. But correct me if I'm wrong. Like, isn't there a huge opportunity, but for people to LP, and isn't there another opportunity for people to speculate on future legs up in the overall market, kind of thing?
Yeah, well, you have to, if you look at the overall market in general, I think that there's really no doubt about it that there's only has been one bull market really, and that's Bitcoin. To be honest, I mean, the rest has just been going up in waves, but has pretty much come down to wherever it started from back in 2022 anyway, or 2023. What was it when when Bitcoin started to kick off 2023? Yeah. So like if you look at BTCD, which is the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? The last time uh, the bull market really kicked off, the Bitcoin dominance was at 73%. We are now at 62.2%, and it really does not seem like it's slowing down yet. So the dominance part is a major factor here, and that is something that I've been saying in the THORChain trader or the Rune traders chat as well, right? The problem with the market nowadays is that but people go like, but what about if the bull market resumes again and then everything goes up? And the thing is, what you now witness with Bitcoin is something that hasn't happened before in the future, whereas the most of the liquidity that flows into Bitcoin and that has been forcing it up for the last 2 years is actually ETFs and people like Sailor, right? But ETFs are stuck on rails. And what I mean with that is that the liquidity that they put in through the ETFs is it can't go sideways, right? So normally you would have the switch from the liquidity flowing into Bitcoin, and then when Bitcoin peaked, then the dominance would drop, and then like a drip down economy, it would flow into the alts and et cetera, et cetera. But because of the major liquidity flowing into Bitcoin is locked and can only move in or out of Bitcoin and not sideways into the alt market, you won't be seeing it as much as you would like to expect. Like people have been waiting for the alt season for the last 2 years, still hasn't arrived. I don't see it arriving anytime soon either. Not until at least the United States government starts QE, which is quantitative easing, where they start to, put, buy assets or instead of just selling them off. I don't see that happening anytime soon. So that's one thing. And like I said, the only people that have been benefiting from this Bitcoin movement is like the Bitcoin OG whales and, people who were smart enough to just buy Bitcoin pretty much at the bottom and not any alts. But, the problem with that is that those people are not very keen on selling their Bitcoin either. So, there's a liquidity starvation within the alt season, within the alt space, and you can see that pretty much everybody is like PvPing, as you call it, like player versus player, and everybody's eating each other, and it's cannibalizing everything. And you can clearly see if you look at the alt market that there's a ball of liquidity just rolling around, and now the whales are going to focus on this alt, and then they send it up like multiple X's, and then people think, now it starts, and then it starts rolling off, and then they just move somewhere else, right? So they take the ball, and it just keeps everyone's sticking, like that Japanese game on the PlayStation from a couple of years back. So the assumption that saying like the rising tide lifts all boats when it comes to alts, and specifically the ones that are showing signs of weakness, like Rune has, mostly due to its own making. Let's be honest. It's not so easy. It's not so likely. Let's put it like that. Of course, you can say, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I thought you were done speaking.
Oh yeah, no. Especially when you say like, okay, there's more chances to provide liquidity. Yeah, I think most people who actively want to, like what I just mentioned with the shorting and the tradings and the market makers who actually try to do something, they don't move on chain. That is a bit of your issue, or our issue. Let's put it like that. Most of that is happening on the SEX, and it's not translating at all to on chain. Like, who cares if somebody buys like $1 million worth of Rune when he just wants to, ride along and then dumps it? These guys on SEX are not holders, right? So it's just a zero-sum game, really.
I think what you said was the perfect indictment about THORFi, about the assumption that all tides rise, it rise all ships, right? I think We need to stop using assumptions or these general ideas and trying to expand upon them in the future. And as Koitsu, Slambammer, and others have said on this stage, like we need to be really careful and really thoughtful of how we go in the future. And I think returning to fundamentals is really going to be our saving grace here. Narratives, I don't think are going to save us. The one thing I was curious about, I don't know if you touched on this already, Nordic, I don't remember. Everything you mention are economic primitives that are on sexes, and the sex volume is what greatly affects the rune price. With something like adding Rujira, how do you factor that in? How do you what's the word I'm looking for? How do you weigh that in terms of rune performance? If you're gonna have a new different economic primitive with a huge amount of swap volume, like where do you see the green possibilities here when it comes to rune?
That's an interesting question, actually. I've touched on that in the Super Traders chat a couple of times, actually, more than people like, I suppose. At the moment, THORChain has always been very prominent in advertising its own real value, right? Which is something I was never in favor of because nobody else does it, and who needs to know how much Boone is actually worth based on TVL, right? So that is one thing. We might have stopped with that now. I don't really know, but when it comes to the Rune token as it stands per today, the liquidity black hole that has become a meme and has been a meme for a very long time has proven not to be effective at all. So I've often agitated on Twitter. You probably have seen my posts many times where people like, there's a couple of them that, THORChain runs these numbers and transactions and runs so many fees and all that kind of stuff. Explain to me once and for all, maybe I don't understand how that translates into the rune price. To me, I don't see it. You can probably argue like, yeah, you get higher fees and it makes it more like beneficial for nodes to bond in, and you get like this node war and stuff like that, and that has been a narrative for like as long as I can remember, really. But let's be honest, it doesn't work. So for me, to say, okay, we have Rujira and it's going to drive up fees and all that kind of stuff, might work, maybe. But to me, the value capture of the fees from THORChain does not directly translate to Rune, but more to TCI. And how that would affect the price of Rune, to be honest, I'm not quite sure. Unless you move everything into the on-chain itself and remove every single rune from the SEX and have it purely reflect the TVL, because in my opinion, and it has always been like that, is that the only true driver of the rune price is the TVL. It has always been like that. And the higher the security model was, in this case, Patriotsounds, that if you have the 131, right, or the 121 factor, the higher that is, the more theoretically one Bitcoin would in TVL would affect the room price. If you lower that, then of course it will negatively affect the room price. Yes. So for me, I don't see any particular reason as to how more fees or how more transactions would translate into higher room price unless the protocol attracts more TVL. That's the only thing I see it. There's no real value capture unless you want to focus on hype, and then you come into the discussion that we prefer organic growth. Then yeah, okay, end of that discussion, I suppose.
Interesting. The thing that Boone brought this up, he was talking about the exploited funds that went through THORChain, and there seems, as far as I could tell, there seems to be a commensurate relationship between swap volume also and the price of Rune when it's really, really high. I mean, we had $1 billion day, right? So I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure. I mean, TVL is important for sure. 100% I agree. But I do believe there is much growth potential with just a simple formula of using swap volume. Our swap volume, relative to what it was a few years ago, has been exponential in its growth. But there is so much room here. And Mocha's not here either. But that's an entirely different economic primitive with a whole different use case that is bound in the real world, not just blockchain. Because let's be real, everyone up here, we're kind of siloed somewhat because we understand the ecosystem of blockchain, but the vast majority of the population is still not there. I still think if my gut tells me we're so very early. We're so very early. Because if you have primitives, economic primitives like Ruggira, Mocha, and other new things that I'm not even aware yet, the 0 to 1 is just a better system to be used. And there is going to be price appreciation on that front of loan. But I definitely do appreciate what you're saying. And I think I have learned a lot from your perspective, because what you're saying does make sense to me on an intuitive level. But I just think for me, there's so many variables. It's difficult to parse exactly. I think it's multifaceted was what I'm driving at.
Can I want to jump in and ask Nordic Knight a question? If somebody was buying $50 to $100 million worth of Rune per year and putting it in cold storage, would that drive the price up, do you think?
Yeah, as long as you get it off the decentralized exchanges, yes. But there's also another thing which is I've noticed, and I really haven't been able to put my finger on, and maybe somebody here could explain it to me. Whenever THORChain had an outage and was not actively, running our bots with on-chain and the SEX, the price on SEX usually went up. So that to me is funny. I mean, you would expect that the people on sexes would actually, have more of a bearish bias, but it actually seems that once THORChain is not actively, influencing the price on sex either, the price on sex goes up. So you have to ask yourself, where does that come from?
I think I can answer it. It's because if they can't close, because if the THORChain pools are acting as a source of capital for them to buy the close or short. If we close off that giant pool of capital for them to access, the shorts are probably de-risking, knowing, oh shoot, I can't tap into that at will, so I'm going to close my position, and that drives the price up.
Yeah, that could be, for sure. It's something that I've been working or thinking about, well, not actively, but it sometimes pops up in my head. But it's an interesting correlation that I really haven't been quite able to quantify yet. But yeah.
And then
like I said.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say when I asked you if somebody buying 50 to 100 million worth of Rune putting in cold storage, if that would drive the price up, it's because that's the point I'm trying to make about the revenue going to 50 to 100 million. That's buying Rune, and it's delivering that Rune to the pools and the nodes, and in a sense going into cold storage, right? The bond providers aren't selling that Rune. It's going into liquidity pools. It's not being sold. That's going to liquidity providers, right? So I get it that Rune can eventually be sold someday, but in the moment, it's no different than somebody buying and moving it to cold storage. It has the same effect on the price.
Yeah, no, that's true. I agree with that. So of course, that's the whole principle of the bond wars, right? Or the node wars in this case. Like I said, the assumption has been that the moment that we get more TVL, you will need to have more Rune bonded, like you guys are doing right now. It's pretty much like a bond war, not because of there's too much TVL that wants in. It's really much because of the price of Rune not holding up. So it's kind of a negative sort of a node war, if you will. But that was always, in my opinion, the main liquidity black hole meme, if you will, that would have driven the price of Rune up eventually. So yeah, what you say is completely true. Like if you bond more to a node and you get that off the market, especially the SEX, so it doesn't provide ammunition for market makers who want to manipulate the price, then yeah, it would have had a positive effect. But there's still this thing with the chart itself that makes it easy for these people to manipulate the price even more, right? I can see some signs of exhaustion on the price already. So unless Bitcoin really, craps out, I do think we are hitting a bottom. I don't think we're going lower as long as Bitcoin, well, not lower than 1, maybe 70 cents, or for that matter. unless Bitcoin, if Bitcoin holds and goes to 150K, I don't see that happening. If it does not, then yes, there's more downside to be had. But like I said, the chart is lending itself really. We have maneuvered ourselves into a position where the chart is very weak and it's very easy to make use of when you want to go short. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, it
okay.
makes sense. That happens with all markets and all stocks, right? And you get periods where the bears are in control, short sellers are in control. They can move their price on us for sure.
Not the case, especially with the raise the bond campaign we're doing. We've been a lot of success. Increasing swap volume, meaning more fees. And right now, people who bond their Rune, they're getting a decent return in Rune in nominal terms of the amount of Rune they get, right? So if the goal is to remove Binance Rune, right? Is it not true that if we just not only increase the swap volume, but get more people bonded into THORChain, which de facto makes these people long-term holders, because churning out is a significant barrier to removing one's Rune. So they are committed to at least staying for a decent amount of time. Is it not the case by just increasing the swap volume on THORChain that the arbitrage between sexes and THORChain itself, I mean, that is Rune that's being abstracted away from sexes and given to nodes, BPs, and people in liquidity pools? Is this not a problem that can self-correct if we get the swap volume up?
Yeah, like that. That's so. Because remember, the fees you get are paid in Rune. That Rune's got to come from somewhere, right? So if we're buying up all the Rune in the pools, ARBs need to replace it with Rune from the centralized exchanges. So as the revenue on THORChain goes up, we're buying more and more Rune to deliver to bond providers and LPs. It's got to come from somewhere, right? And it's going to slowly suck the Rune off of the centralized exchanges. So it's just going to take time, but it will happen. So the higher the revenue goes and the quicker it goes up, the sooner we suck that Rune off of centralized exchanges.
Right. And the people who are getting rewards in Rune, our BPs, are long-term holders, who are people who believe in the project. And that's why, I want to call it out. Slambammer is up here. He is a new node operator. He's taken up the gauntlet. He's put forth the effort. So if there's anyone in here who's interested in bond providing, who's not done it, I highly recommend DMing him and reaching out, because again, we want to take every opportunity we can to make sure that we're increasing the amount of node operators, which increases the decentralization of this network, which ultimately makes things like Regira more secure too, regardless of the security budget. That's completely abstracted away from this conversation. We want to make THORChain hard as possible. So I like what we're doing here, Kenton. I like the fact with the Raise the Bond campaign. And I'm just becoming more and more convinced that I really want to try your strategy of just getting the interfaces themselves to advertise to their own user base. I think that is a very clear, that's a really clear path forward.
Yeah, but my opinion is it's the easiest, most obvious. We're going to focus, especially money, on doing anything, focusing like that's where it should be done.
Have you had any success reaching out? Like, what is the progress on this? Have we had any
we should probably save that for a whole other space. But
okay.
I am making progress. I had a meeting the other day. I've got a bunch lined up for tomorrow and Tuesday. But yeah, let's save that. It's moving forward. How about let's leave it there and then we can talk another day. But I kind of interrupted Nordic Knight again. I don't know if you had more to say or add to your thoughts.
No, well, I'm open for questions. I mean, like the stuff that I usually look at, like I said, I feel that there's somewhat of a disconnect between the way that I look at THORChain versus the people who are really, looking into, node bonding and LP and stuff like that. And they have this utopian, I'm just going to put it like, I don't mean anything negative with it, but this utopian outlook of what Rune or THORChain should be for the space, I'm behind that, don't get me wrong. But like I said, I'm trying to stand a little bit on both ends with feet in both worlds, if you know what I mean. So this is the reason why I've been able to predict, not always perfectly, but pretty decently. The price action of Rune in the past. I'm not sure if you remember, but I also called the last bear market bottom at 80 cents when everybody pretty much told me I was fucking nuts. I probably am fucking nuts, but I was right anyway. Um, but what I'm trying to say, if you have any questions about charting and how that potentially affects the Rune ecosystem and stuff, it's just something I've been doing for a very long time. So if you have any questions, just hit me up and I will be glad to answer them either here now or later if you come up with anything. Like, you can always reach out.
Well, I do have a question for you. So, like, especially if someone's hearing you for the first time, I'm thinking, like, why the hell do you have this guy up talking so negatively about Rune, right? And like, what is like? It's like nothing goes up in a straight line, right? The markets go up and down. Rune prices will be no different. But I'm curious, Nordic Knight, if you've got a negative outlook on Rune right now, and you're not so sure, what keeps you engaged? Like, why are you involved in THORChain and Rune to begin with? What's your big picture outlook here? Are you just a masochist? Are you just here to troll, or is it? Do you believe in the future of Rune and THORChain? Like, what's your?
No. Like I've been involved with the community for a very long time, and like I said, for me, there's a very clear distinction in being bullish on a ideology, which I am, which is THORChain, in my opinion. I agree with Patriotsounds. It is, revolutionary, and it should be the thing that we need for the entire crypto space. That hasn't changed. So when it comes to this ideology of what THORChain is and what it should be, I am very bullish. But that doesn't mean that I let somebody else steal the cheese of my sandwich, if you know what I mean. So I I approach it with two mindsets. Like, yes, I want to be involved in this. Yes, I want this to succeed. But the moment I see, okay, this is not going the way that we want it, I'm taking my chips off the table and I'm looking to enter lower, because I will always be a part of the community, and I will never like be completely out. Doesn't mean that I'm just going to sit there and take these losses, because there's a difference in having a strong ideology and just being passive and non-reactive and having your money stolen. And I'm not the kind of person that would like to have my money stolen. That's pretty much it. I'm bearish on the price, but not on what it stands for. And there's a large difference.
Yeah, you're a rational actor. You're a rational actor, and I'm really glad I've got to talk with you, because I've interacted with you on in text before, and I've always liked you. But I really enjoy talking with you because there's a depth to a person you cannot discover until you actually have a back and forth dialogue with them. So you are a very deep thinker and very interesting. And the one thing that I want to make clear is you never have to apologize for giving a bearish outlook or maybe saying something negative, because we do not believe in censorship here. We believe in all ideas are open on the table. And if someone has something negative to say, I welcome them, because if I have a bullish outlook and you have a negative one, we need to collide a little bit and figure out where the bits are true, because there's a disconnect that can only be resolved by the exchange of our ideas. So I think I've learned a lot with just talking to you, and I appreciate a lot better where you're coming from. That my understanding not only of you has been superficial, so I'm very thankful here. So please never apologize. If you ever have a bearish idea or if you have a concern, speak, because I think this community is one of the best when it comes to just ruthless meritocracy and embracing ideas and just open exchange of dialogue.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
I haven't been paying attention. Has anybody been raising their hand? Anybody else want to speak?
I had Shapeshift try. I don't know. He might have technical issues. I've been trying to bring you up, man. I'm not sure what's going on there. But you can keep requesting. I can try and get you up here. If any other speakers want to chime in, please do. Or if anyone else wants to come and speak up, again, negative, positive, question, open forum, guys. We're here to just chat about anything. We're not scared of any topic.
Yeah, it's. I think it's good. It's healthy to talk about the bear case and whatever. Like, we don't. I think people talking about how do we rebuild brand, rebuild trust, rebuild community. It's about being honest, right? If we're just sitting here lying to ourselves and only trying to talk about the good and ignoring any of the bad, it would just that doesn't doesn't help, doesn't work. So Nordic is going to call it how he sees it. And conversely, so let's say he's right. Let's say room price is weaker for longer, but then it does turn around and he flips bullish. Well, that'll be great. It'll be a good sign, right? Because like, okay, this guy's got a good track record. He's been calling it pretty good. Now he's bullish. I'm like, oh man, now we have something really to latch onto. And if you are wrong, Nordic Knight, if this is the bottom and we go higher, it's so good to have this conversation and explore the possibilities, all the potentials. I just always talk about going up, up, up. It can never go down. Doesn't serve anybody, right? So.
Yeah.
Oh, we got.
No, I'm pretty sure it won't go down unlimitedly either. I mean, I outlined 2 bullish cases on the chart itself as well, like yesterday and today. I think those are still valid. I also do think it very much depends on the state of the market in general with BTC. Like, will it actually remain bullish, or will it retest some lows? I can potentially see it going back to like $40,000. So it's insane to think that any altcoin would be able to resist that. It just won't happen. So, but it's on edge. And like I said, if it does go up, I mean, if it manages to pivot over here, I can potentially see $150,000. I'm just going to be easy going with that. We're going to get a 2x. If it flips here, we're going to get a 2x approximately on Bitcoin. So yeah, sure, we could definitely go up if that happens. But like I said, the control is now not in Rune because it's so manipulated. The market needs to swing up again because now there's a lot of fear and indecisiveness, rightfully so, I suppose. Once that happens, I would just recommend, if you're bullish on Rune, just buy Rune. I mean, if you don't want people to short this, the only thing you can do is buy, right? Make them pay for what they're doing and what they have been doing for such a long time. I mean, the moment you see that Bitcoin starts to swing up and then you see like, okay, now we're approaching, let's see what the pivot is here. I would definitely say we're going to hit 150,000 if we manage to close above, would be $96,000 or maybe $100,000. If we manage to close above there, Rune might already be like 1.6, but if you're bullish on it, it might go even higher. But like I said, if you're bullish on it and you see the market swinging upwards, just buy Rune. I mean, make those guys pay. I said on my Twitter many times and in the Super Traders chat as well, I am very good at TA, but if there's one thing I don't do, that's shorting, because I am a very moral person and I do not want to make money out of negativity or suffering. So I never short myself. But I will give people shorting opportunities if they want to do it. But I use it more to find myself a new entry, if you will, instead of making money on the way down, because I just don't think that's the right thing to do. But yeah, if you're bullish on THORChain and you see the market swinging up, then just buy it. I mean, that's the easiest thing you can do.
Okay, can I ask you this? What circumstance? And Eric, I'm sorry, I saw your hand up. I just want to ask one more question, and we'll go to you. What circumstance would cause the Nordic Knight to just be like? Because it sounds like you're a swing trader. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You're buying low, selling high, right? What scenario in your mind would just make you be a long-term holder and say, you know what, this thing's got great potential. I'm stopping here. I'm holding. Or maybe that's not your strategy.
Oh, it is for sure my strategy. I mean, there's some stuff that Bitcoin, you should just buy Bitcoin. Very simple. But for when it comes to Rune, I suspect for me that to happen, and I don't want to point out anything in particular, but some people need to be less active on Twitter. That would be one thing, because that for me is a major red flag that I am not. Thing is, like, I can predict charts very well, but I cannot predict uncertainties. And some people have a tendency to say or do certain things that I cannot fully, chart in, and I don't like that. So that would be one thing. The other thing would be, if I see that it holds a bottom at 1, then I'm probably not going to sell it until it reaches at least 9, I think. So, or maybe not even sell it at all. That that could be it. But I need to see to form a decent bottom that I can depend on, and then I would be a holder, like probably forever, if some people can manage to, get rid of their phone or their Twitter account. Put it like that.
I understand. Yeah, reasonable position. Eric, I want to give you a chance, sir. You had your hand raised up earlier.
Yes, but I kind of didn't want to steer the conversation somewhere else. So I just want to ask you, Kenton. You mentioned something about some marketing efforts with other interfaces and stuff like that. I just gave you a follow. I would appreciate it if you can follow me back, because I am going to be pushing a new launch of a THORChain interface, well, a cross-chain interface called Mocha. So if we can coordinate and see where we can collaborate to push THORChain adoption through DApp usage, that would be great.
Yeah, we can talk offline. Patriotsounds has mentioned you before, right? This is a Mocha.
Yes. Yep.
Even talked about Patriot. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to help you too, Eric.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey,
yeah.
Kenton, so that's actually caused me to think of something. I think you said you're definitely going to the BTC conference. I'm going there too. I think this might be a great opportunity for us in person. Enough spaces, X space. Like, let's actually get talking to people. I think Trust Wallet, all the big interfaces are going to be at BTC. I think we should probably think about I don't want to use the word pitch because that sounds cheap, but reaching out to them and forming that human bond. And discussing like, hey, like, you guys are making good money, but like, what do you think? Let's take it to the next level here. What do you think of that, Kenton?
Oh yeah, for sure. I gotta talk to Familiar Cow about this too, but that's definitely part of the process. Absolutely, we got to get, we want them on board to help do this too. But I'm trying to think of ways, even if they flat out aren't interested, don't want to cooperate, to still do it anyway. So I'm just thinking about those scenarios too. But I kind of want to formulate a plan and have an idea, something to bring to them, as opposed to just, hey, you want to market? Like, I want to actually have some meat to put on the plate for them, to kind of like, here's the idea, this is the vision, something to sell to them, to get them to do it.
Yeah, makes sense. If anyone else is going to BTC Las Vegas, I appreciate you reach out to me. I'd like to meet you in person. I'm a real person. I breathe, I eat, I drink, I sleep, I do all that stuff. I'm not just this weird avatar with Patriotsounds. You know what I mean? Please reach out to me. I want to meet more people. I don't care if you're Mocha, Maya Protocol. I think I've met all the Maya Protocol devs at this point. Met 9 Realms, of course, but just ordinary people, or maybe you're just coming in to this ecosystem of Rujira, THORChain, Maya Protocol. Let's form a human connection. Let's meet, because I just really think magic happens. I find myself more engaged, more committed when I speak to people that I've actually met in real life. And there's just something that's irreplaceable about that. So please reach out if you can.
I just got Shapeshift on the stage. I don't know if you wanted to say something.
Please address the comments section. My mic is rugging every time I come on stage. So yeah,
it's even worse than before.
Totally. Look at the comment section, please, for myself and others.
I can't hear anything. Can you hear anything, Patriot? It's
asking
all
for the
garbled.
comment section. I'll do that right now, Shapeshift. Thanks for the reminder. That's fine.
Something I wanted to add, maybe share with people my views, my outlook. I'm how do I say this? I need a disclaimer. I could be wrong. How about this? But the way I'm viewing it, I think Rune is bottoming right now, and I think we are going into an altcoin, Bitcoin, the final stages of the bull market. I think it's tied to the liquidity cycle. You guys have probably seen everyone's posting the M2 money supply to the Bitcoin price chart, and how it leads. So I think crypto is largely driven by liquidity, by cheap, easy, free money floating around. So, and by crypto, I mean risk assets. So we've been in a period of quantitative tightening, which means risk assets in general are weak. And then once we move to quantitative easing, all that extra free money sloshing around spills over into risk assets, i.e. crypto. So I don't and I agree with Nordic, like maybe we've been in a bull market this last year in Bitcoin, but like it's only been really in some select few altcoins. Like as an overall sector, there hasn't really been any kind of bull market. And even in Bitcoin in general, like I don't see any real euphoria to really mark a top. Usually if you get with a full-blown bull market, you get some pretty obvious signs. I don't really see that personally. So I still think we have some room in front of us. And why is quantitative easing going to start? It's because governments, not just US government, Japanese governments around the world, they have a lot of debt they got to roll over. And they can't, or they don't want to refinance that debt at such high interest rates. So you may have heard this in the US, interest rates are really high, so nobody's moving because nobody wants to get a new mortgage at a higher interest rate. They want to keep their current mortgage at the low rate they have. So, housing supply has been kind of stuck. Like nobody wants to refinance a mortgage. It's the exact same thing multiplied 1,000 times over with governments. They don't want to refinance their debt at these higher interest rates because the interest expense will be that much higher. So I believe politics are going to get involved and find ways to push rates down, introduce quantitative easing to make the government debt cheaper to refinance, which in turn will make people's mortgages cheaper to refinance and everything else cheaper to refinance, and that money will slosh around and find its way into the markets. So that's for me, I look at things more from a macro view. That's how I'm looking at it going forward.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. To address Shapeshift's concern about the comments, I'll just swing through them real quick. Max Powers made a few comments. The sentiment is very bipolar on THORChain. Yeah, I think that's true, and not necessarily bipolar in terms of swinging emotions, but there's definitely two camps here, and that we have to work on that and we have to fix that. So I agree with Max. And then some people suggested that maybe we can consider rebranding THORChain to maybe reset it. I don't know if that would work. I'm not necessarily, and that's a bad idea, but ultimately, I think as people alluded here, THORChain is going to disappear in the background. And really not many people know about THORChain. Let's be real. I mean, the people who know about it have strong opinions one way or the other, but we are still very much unknown. Kenton made a really great introduction video to THORChain, I think about a year and a half ago now. He just shows that the DEX volume relative to SEX volume is still so tiny. I mean, guys, we're so early, but definitely an idea there that we could consider. And then there was another one here. Give me one moment. The space time.
I'm thinking at least try to grow, deliver on our growth, see how that goes. And if we're finding, it's really hard to shake the past, then fine, maybe rebrand, because that's really the point of getting a new name and starting over that way. Is right. You're trying to distance yourself from your past, right? I don't know if it's. I don't know.
I think that's something that we can consider later on. If it's.
Yeah.
I think we can right this ship, guys. Like we righted the ship pretty well when it came to the exploits of 2021. Some people just will never understand that was kind of the point of ChaosNet. But like Kenton said earlier, I think the price just going up is ultimately the main motivator for people to get excited about an ecosystem. And I think we're doing all the right things right now. It's just going to take a little time. So I know a lot of people I've seen a lot of impatience, and I hate using that word impatience because I think it's kind of denigrating to you, because we've all been through a lot and everyone's been extremely patient here. But I would just say, if we could just reset your mind a little bit, now that we've kind of gone through the ringer on THORFi and everything else, and we kind of have a new vision, kind of reset your expectations and realize, like, going forward, we're doing something different here. I think the unity and cohesion of our ecosystem has never been stronger.
Yeah, and it's this is like basically like a bear market right now. It's not just THORChain, it's all crypto. Right? Sentiment is negative across the board. And it's just amplified for us because of the problems we've had the last couple months. But give it another 3 months, right? Look at how much has changed in the last 3 months. A lot can change in the next 3 months. So we all tend to get myopic and recency bias. We get kind of tunnel vision, and we think the future is going to be like the immediate past. But things can change very quickly.
I mean, just look what we did, Kenton. 2 weeks ago, we started the Bond Your Rune campaign. And everyone's been doing such a great job. People have actually been even more aggressive than myself at promoting it. And you are. Scale has been great. I've seen many good people. We have TCY Bull, new account. Change can happen very quick if we put forth the effort, guys. So 2 weeks ago, I thought we were kind of rudderless a little bit. Now we just seem to have this. I mean, we're 103 nodes, right? We're going to be 103 nodes. And we, as Kenton said earlier, we have up to 110. Let's go for 120, guys. Like, this is a sentiment shift. You're watching it in real time. And you've heard what the Nordic Knight has had to say about what the TA says now. Let's reset. Let's change the narrative.
And I've been noticing too with bond providers. I'm getting some first time bond providers, never done it before. People pulling their Rune off of Binance that has been sitting there for a couple of years, and people topping up, people buying more Rune to add to their bond. So those are, in my mind, those are all bullish, especially like how bad, how negative sentiment are, and those things are happening. And every little bit counts, right? Like if you've got 10,000 Rune on Binance, get it off, get it in a node. Every little bit counts. So it is working.
And to throw out a little
Go ahead.
hopium copium, if you are bullish long term on Rune and THORChain, then the low Rune price is great for bonding, because if you bond your Rune, you're gonna earn more Rune per dollar swapped because the Rune price is lower, so the APY is higher. So when the price does recover, your Rune stack is going to be that much bigger and heavier. So it's almost like like the Link Marines are famous for fudding their own bags, but like if you're truly a a Rune bull, then like you don't mind the low price now if you're bonded, because your stack is getting fatter.
We should.
I feel so
Go
dumb
ahead.
not bonding my Rune. I'm sorry, Kent, I'll let you go. I feel so dumb not bonding my Rune earlier. My free Rune, you guys know LP, but I should have bonded my Rune. This is me owning myself. I am mentally retarded for not bonding my Rune. I have no idea why I didn't do it. Go ahead, Kenton.
Well, I mean, to help defend you, I think the risks with the synth leverage, it was, I mean, in theory, P should have understood it, but I don't think anybody understood it well enough to appreciate them. But anyway, it's hindsight, right? 2020. I wanted to bring up TCY. TCY Bull. We'll be remiss if we don't talk about its price. But I still think TCY can do really well. Like my default is positive and like let's hope for the best. I still feel like the TCY holders have a really good chance of being made whole. And so I put together a little model. If we have a starting point of 30 million a year revenue on THORChain, and it grows, and you model in the revenue growing 18% a year, so that after 10 years we're at 133 million in revenue. After 20 years, 700 million in revenue. That gives you NPV, net present value, of 5% of $1 TCY. Net present value at 10% discount is 55 cents TCY. So I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but in my opinion, those are very conservative numbers. I like THORChain is already on par to be have 56 million revenue this year, not 35 million. So that revenue could grow much faster. And so let me just throw in, say, growing at 25% a year. Your net present value, 5% discount, gives you a TCY price of 226. At a 10% discount, I get $1.13. And again, if we're growing, if THORChain's revenue is growing at 25% a year, after 10 years, that puts us at 225 million, and after 20 years, 2 billion, which I don't think is that crazy. Like, the whole reason I'm invested in Rune is I think we're going to get $1 billion revenue well within the next 10 years. So yeah, when you use pretty conservative growth rates on THORChain's revenue, and you discount the TCY revenues to what TCY should trade at, you can get to $1 or more pretty quick. So I'm pretty hopeful for TCY holders, because I'm hopeful on THORChain's growth, on us consistently growing revenue over time.
Yeah, I think that's I don't even think that's so much of an optimistic outlook as a pretty measured and conservative outlook, because you guys seen the growth that we've had in the past. It's been absolutely exponential, and right now we're in this phase where there's just a little negativity out there. But if you expand your mind and think long term, like what we're trying to do here and the new things that are coming along, I mean, I always sound like a permabull. It is what it is, but I'm on line with Kenton here. I'm feeling very good about this. So to speak to the Nordic Knight, I have been buying Rune. I've never owned as much Rune as I own right now, and I'm going to keep buying it because I firmly believe, guys. But all of you guys, we all can do this together. I mean, and we are. So let's just keep doing what we're doing, because I think it's a winning strategy.
Are we running out of things to talk about? Anybody else want to jump up? Are we? Man,
yeah. We went with 3.5
Holy
hours.
Smokes! Yeah, I think we should.
It goes by quick.
It actually does. I think this was like. I think it's funny because I've talked to people about this privately. We're like, we're all neck deep in THORChain, and we have no one else to talk to about it, right? Our friends and family, they don't care, right? And so we just have each other. That's probably why we can all go so long on this, because we have no one else really to talk about THORChain with. So, which for me gives me some hope that there's that many passionate, interested people, working on this. So it's always a pleasure doing this with you, Patriot.
Likewise, sir, and all the other speakers. Boone's a frequent guest. 13 Heavens, Eric. I love it, guys. And Nordic Knight, I'm so glad you came up here. And I think maybe you have been doing this regularly, where we can see, like, you come back, give us your new analysis based on market dynamics or sentiment shift or whatever. I think that'd be really useful. I want to give Slambammer, because this, we've been going for hours, guys, and he's talked in the very beginning and a little bit throughout. But I want to give you another opportunity to promote yourself, guys, because remember, we've been calling new people to become node operators. So important for the decentralization of the network. Slambammer has been a member of this community since 2021. I recognize his name very well. You are a new node operator, sir. Could you give people just a quick rundown of your terms, what you're accepting, and your fee and everything like that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. So yeah, as Patriot was saying, I've been part of THORChain since 2021 and the ChaosNet days. I dabbled in all THORChain products, savers, liquidity providing, and that's where I have all my crypto. I'm a very strong believer in the mission and the product of THORChain. At the beginning of this year, I made the decision to play a more active role in the recovery of THORChain. I really do believe in it, and I want to see it, reach its previous heights. So I've started up a node. Again, I started crypto in the background. My background was in Ethereum mining, so I had some experience there. I'm accepting all sizes of bonds, ideally above 1,000 Rune, but I'm passionate about helping people get started in the space. So just reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'm happy to support you, going through your first bond. Currently, my fee is 15%, and I've got my nodes ready to churn in. I'm just accruing bond now. So yeah, any questions at all? Happy to help you get started in the space. Just reach out.
What's the best way to reach out to you? On Twitter, Telegram?
Yeah, so Twitter and Discord. I'm Slambammer on both. I've been talking in the dev Discord as well. Yeah, I'll respond to you on Telegram as well. Slambammer on all three platforms.
And I'm so sorry, maybe I cut out there. What's the minimum bond offer that you accept?
Again, so ideally 1,000 rune. However, look, if you're really passionate and you just want to get started and get your head around it, reach out. I'm happy to help.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut out there. That was probably me. So sorry if you had to repeat that. Okay, guys, let's do another call to the audience. Please share the space. I want people to listen to this recording. It's a long one, but I think a lot of people who are into our ecosystem, they love the content and they like, they go for a drive, they work at the gym. They just like to hear this stuff to get a general sense of everything that's going on. So please share the space. If someone up here wants to come up and speak in the audience, please do. All opinions, everything. If you think I'm doing something good or bad, or I'm smart or I'm stupid, I don't care. I want your input. Challenge only makes me better. So please come and say what you're going to say. But if no one else does, we can think about wrapping.
I think so.
I'm in it for longer.
I think we wrap.
I've got energy.
Yeah, I think we wrap it up. I don't think if no one else is coming up, as they say, I think we put a pin in it.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, if we're going to wrap this up, I just want to remind people the Raise the Bond campaign is still in full swing. Please bond your rune. Kenton is a node operator. Also, definitely think about Slambammer. We want to get him going. There's a lot of node operators out there. Do your own due diligence. It's not hard to do. Reach out. We're going to get this node count up. We want to get as much security into the system as possible. That makes THORChain stronger. And I want to hit that 120. I want to hit that so bad. I know we can do it. And I want bond wars to happen for real. This is so doable. We are going to do it. So keep going. I'm continuously adding rune to my bond. I'm pretty allocated now, but whenever I buy, I just sling a little bit more in there. You can always add actively if you are a bond provider. So keep it going, guys. The energy's been great. And I can't emphasize how much I appreciate all of you for stepping up. This has been a wonderful thing. And if you've never bond provided, please think about it. Reach out to me. It's so easy, guys. It's not hard to do. It's really simple. And as Kenton said in earlier spaces, and I'm sure Slambammer's the same way, you reach out to them. If you've got questions, concerns, nuances, you're not sure how they would respond in certain positions, they're more than willing to talk to you and break down their ethos, what they believe, in what circumstances they're going to make certain decisions, whatever you want to do or ask, just reach out to them. That's the first step. So please just click their name right now, send them a DM and get the process started if you're thinking about it. And one more thing, if you have some technical skill, again, we've had dozens of people. I've sent them to RuneTard. If you're interested in becoming a node operator, if you think you can handle it, or if you want to try it, learn Kubernetes. Yes, it is technically complex. I'm not going to lie, but the world needs you. We need you. This ecosystem needs you. Please try it. Give it a shot. It's free to try. You know what I mean? And if you think you can do it, just like Slambammer, I'm going to promote you. I'm going to try and get you BPs, and I'm going to get you turned in, and you can make some decent money doing this. And you're not only making decent money, you're decentralizing the network, and you're doing an overall good thing for all the ecosystem, not just THORChain, but Ruggira as well. Kenton, can you think of anything else?
Hashtag raise the bond. That's it.
Fuck yeah. Raise the bond. Bond your rune.
Yeah.
Buy more rune. Raise the bond. Love it.
Yeah, you said it well, man. I think that's great. Thanks, everybody.
Everyone have a great Sunday or Monday morning from part of the world. Bless you all. Thank you guys so much. You all take care.
Bye.
Cheers.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.